All right, Stephanie Hoang, CEO, eLife Insurance Services. Thanks for coming to Strong Like Bull.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I know a little bit about your story,
Mhm.
which is incredible. Like it's one of those, I don't know, it's like almost like a novel. It's one of those inspirational stories, which is really cool. And those are the kind of people I like to surround myself with because I know the lessons that you've learned from those kind of experiences. So, but I'd like to hear it from you. Start at the very beginning, like what's your earliest memory, and then bring me all the way to today.
Okay. So let's go back to Vietnam. That was where I was born. And I still remember my family. Of course, after the war, my dad and my family, we have a hard time living in Vietnam. So they decided that we're gonna escape. And I don't know if you know much about the journey of people who escape Vietnam, but for us, it was by boat. So my family, my dad and my mom had tried to divide the family into two separate so that we can go just in case. And the theory behind it is in case one person died, then half the family still survive, which is
Right.
a pretty crazy thinking about it. I can't even imagine if today being a mother thinking like that kind of thought, right?
It's like owners of a company, like they all don't fly on the same plane.
Yeah, exactly. So my dad would take my brother, and then my mom would take the girls. I have four siblings total. Actually, at the time, three siblings. And so we tried to do that so many times, and we failed. And eventually, one day, my parents says, "You know what? We're just gonna die together or go together." So we did. But to take the next step further, my dad decided he's gonna be the captain of his own boat because after we try to how do you buy a spot to go to the big boat, and in the middle of the night you try to escape, and all these one thing lead to another, and if you get caught you would be punished, all that stuff. But long story
So
short,
all of this is like hit black market
yeah,
secret,
yeah,
buying secret
yeah,
tickets to secret
yep,
boats in the middle of the night.
exactly. It's crazy, and I still remember one incident. We were on this little tiny little boat. We say boat, it's like this tiny little canoe,
Hmm.
and we are going to the big boat. Obviously, we see it, and everyone goes so excited. And then one man, of course, we're on the same little canoe. He stepped on it, and then it punctured a hole in the middle of the canoe. The water was pouring in. So now we're trying to like seal the hole, and then we missed the boat.
Right.
Okay, so stuff like that. So one day, my dad said, "Okay, that's it." And when my dad is like one of the smartest person I ever know. That's it. We're gonna be the captain. He's gonna be the captain of
Get
the
his
boat.
own boat.
Yeah. So he got his own boat, and then so there's a lot of how to say parts, moving parts to be able to escape Vietnam. So you need to find someone who can know where the gate and then the funding and all that stuff. So finally, my dad, I don't know all the details, but he found the people who were able to set everything together. So the last time when we actually succeed, there was a total of 34 people, 34 passenger in our little boat. And by all means, it's not any fancy boat. It's a very small little boat.
Hmm.
And
So where are you guys going? What's the, hey, we're gonna escape, but escape to where? I'm not great with geography. So.
yeah, so of course, we're in Vietnam. And so we want to leave Vietnam. And the idea is to go to the refugee camp where the Thailand, Pulau Bidong, Malaysia.
Okay. So
So
you're in the ocean,
yeah, in the
not in a lake or
no,
sorry,
no,
not in
no,
a
no.
river.
Oh, this is the
This is
ocean. Yeah, this
ocean.
is in the ocean. And so people who've left in the past would send letters home, and they would give us the coordinate how to go. And then people who are like the captain who kind of know, we don't know. It's just faith.
Yeah.
We really don't know if we will survive because there's so many people who got killed or pirates, the Thailand pirates and all kind of stuff and die in the ocean because they have not have enough food, all this stuff. So it's just a leap of faith based on the past experience of people who had survived and give us the instruction, the map. This is what you do. And that's basically what we do. So there's no real concrete idea. So anyhow, we were able to escape left the gate, and then 4 days and 3 nights in the ocean. And what I remember was we were just this tiny little boat in the middle of the ocean of just this big waves. And we see other boats. And we try to like flag them down, etc. And of course, at the time, we didn't know what was the whole idea. We saw the American boat, which is like a ship. And we would wave to them and they would wave at us as if we're saying hi, and then they just gone, right? And I remember we saw pirates, which is Thailand pirates as well. And then we would just pray, everybody just pray that we don't get killed, because when we finally landed, the island that we first landed was this island called Palabidong. It's a piece of part of the Philippines.
Hmm.
It's a refugee island. It's no longer active right now, but it was open for all those refugees, because I guess that's kind of like where the heading in, and that's the first meeting point. So when we got there, we had 34 passenger total, and basically they rescue us, and then we got on the list as the refugee. In that process is when all these other countries who they have their, what do you call those people, like representative, who would sit and interview you and see who would qualify to go where. So the number one choice that everybody want to go is to America.
Yes.
Of course. But of course, America is not going to accept every single person. So they go through their process elimination, who they would accept and who they wouldn't. So,
what were the qualifications?
For example, if you were in the military, that's the number one thing. And then if you have family and then all the other stuff, I don't know all the criteria, but I do know.
Skills or trades or speak English or any of those things, like good scores versus bad scores?
To be honest, I don't know. The one thing I do know why our family qualifies, because my dad was in the military. And so they would have to go through the part of interview, because anybody can say I'm in the military.
Sure.
So they would go through the interview and they would ask questions that if you were in the military, you would know a certain thing or how to take orders, etc. And so he passed. But like we have other people on the same boat, or even our family later on who escaped. They don't get qualified to America. So there's like Canada, Australia, Norway. There's all the other countries that they do want more people. So, but of course, anywhere except going back to Vietnam, of course. So we were there in 1987, which is the sort of the last end of the refugee era. Because 1989 was like basically the end. They closed the borders. No more. Anybody who leave after that, they would return you back to Vietnam.
So do you remember being on the boat?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was 8 years old. So definitely remember. Don't know much, but I remember the waves. I remember, of course, eating porridge. I remember everybody just cry and pray. And it was 4 days and 3 nights. So I do remember, not vividly of every single detail, but I still remember being on that boat at that time. And remember getting out. I remember the first thing when we got out of the boat, they throw all of us in this big room and they spray us down to make sure we're like sanitized. It's crazy. They strip all the women in one room, all naked, another man in one room, and they basically hose you down is the word, right? And then after that, you are separated, and then they will kind of like give you where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And then from there, they have these huts or whatever the case is, you get to stay with your family. And every day they would pass out in Palabidong, I believe they pass out food. For example, a certain rice or a certain fish or whatever the case. Every day you go to kind of like a little open, not market because you don't buy it. They're giving it to you, passing out. So cafeteria area. And then you come home and then you cook. But one thing that I still remember that's really cool, and which I think the world of my dad. We were in Palabidong for 7 months, I believe. And there's really nothing, and you're eating the same thing every single day. I mean, we're refugees. So he is such an innovative person. He said, I don't want to eat like rice or pork every single day. So what can we do? Well, let's make some noodle. There's no equipment or whatsoever. So what he does is he asked my older sister, who used to go to our neighbor back in Vietnam to buy noodle, to tell him how does the setup was. And then he basically reinvented by using cans And of course, we're in the mountain, so get the logs from the mountain, all this stuff, and then getting all the things that like the rice, and he would grind them and do all that, and he create from scratch, from nothing, this little invention of how to make noodle.
That is so cool. He
It,
sounds like
it's
an amazing guy.
yes, it's insane, and then after when and of course, so people would come and buy. What do I mean by buy? Trading, you know. So they would like, okay, well, if you want more, you want more fish. Here's trading with
Right.
because nobody else in the island have noodle, and we crave for something else besides
Right.
rice and porridge, right? So that was a kind of fun. And then when we leave, people want to buy it from us, but he gave it to a friend, family friend, you know. So that was the kind of fun, but also early journey of me admiring my dad very much. He's such an amazing.
He's still around?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's he doing now?
Retired.
Yeah.
I
For
get
him.
to retire him.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, he sounds like he deserves it.
Absolutely.
He's local. He lives close to you?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Close
great.
by. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sounds like a maybe I have a podcast. Maybe you
So
can teach me something.
yeah, no, he's amazing. His whole life journey is just insane. But yeah, so then once we got enlisted, and then eventually we got moved to Malaysia, and that was when my mom got pregnant with my younger sister.
So hold on, let's back up a
Uh-huh.
little bit. So whenever you were trying to get on the boat, and whenever you finally were able to get out,
Uh-huh.
and the huts were provided and the food
Uh-huh.
was provided, who is they that is providing this? Is this like
It's basically a organization, I guess, in
like an
the like the
NGO?
United Kingdom, for example. All the countries who are sponsoring, they have their representative. They put together this nonprofit organization to help all the refugees are coming from Vietnam.
Got it.
So there's representative of all kind of countries that were there.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, I didn't know if they were organized or it's just like a gang of
No, it was organized.
like the cartel.
No, yeah.
Okay, so Malaysia.
Yeah, so then we were shipped to Malaysia, which is our second destination, and similar setup. They have it's not hut, but like kind of like lack of word like apartments, but of course very very limited access to everything. And this is where I guess my journey of hard head come from. My mom was pregnant in Philippines, so now when we were moved to Malaysia, eventually she is gonna have a baby there, which is my youngest sister. And being in Malaysia, I would think about another 6 months there is the same process, the same routine, basically. But this time we have education, so there's a lot of teachers. They teach you English or whatever, mainly English, but of course they have different schools, all the kids as well. So the kids would go to school, and of course we'd go out play, etc. And then the parents at home basically really do nothing but just waiting for the day to get sponsored to go to your next destination is the whole idea. But during that time, in Malaysia, they don't give you ingredients to cook. They cook the meals for you. And it's like a cafeteria. And then we would just show up and we'd get our food in, just like you go to school, a cafeteria, and then you go home and you eat. And you can only imagine a cafeteria that cooked for thousands of people. It's pretty disgusting, right? But it served the purpose. We survived. So my mom, who is pregnant and just have a baby, and she just crave for just rice. Because when they feed you, it's like porridge. It's like it's pretty bad, and you just crave for like simple rice. I still remember the idea, the mind, and almost like the smell of just smelling rice when the rice is cooked, and oh, it smells so good. It's just one piece of rice. So my mom, so during that time, myself, my older brother, my sister, I was the youngest in the of the three of us. Our task every day is to go to the cafeteria and ask for a cup of rice. So we can go home, so my mom can cook rice. And the idea is she wants to have at least like eat so she can produce milk to, of course, take care of my younger sister. So between the three of us, we would always go and take turns to go, and the mission is to get rice home. And my brother and my sister would always go, and sometimes they have a hard time being able to bring rice back because these people who work at the cafeteria, they just tell you go away, like they shoo you away. But not me. I was so hard headed, and I would stand there. I don't care what they say. I don't care if they kick me out. I would stand there and I keep on knocking. I would annoy the hell out of them until they said, "Okay, fine." I got them so annoyed that they know that I would never give up. That when I show up, they have the rights for me, okay? They no longer go like, okay, this girl is not gonna leave. So that kind of like my proud moment in a kind of sense. But of course, I was too young to understand. I was what, like 9? I know, right? Persistent, and not taking no as an answer, right? So that was the excitement. But the sad part about it also is that imagine being 8, 9 years old and you get this cup of rice and you come home and my mom would cook it and we would all sit around and just smell.
Mhm.
And that's the satisfaction. It's just this smell of the rice, which is insane because that's why I have a daughter now. And whenever I tell the story or share, they will never understand the hardship of the things that I'm sure you and I have gone through in our life. You know, as simple as sitting there smelling a cup of rice cooked
Yeah.
and felt so fulfilled.
Yeah, I had Carlos Luna and Josh Diggs on the podcast yesterday, and it's like who was poorer, right? Like that's our like we don't try to one up each
Yeah,
other. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
who had
yeah,
it
yeah.
rougher, who had and yeah, I mean that's what we were talking about.
Mhm.
Like how do we teach our
Yeah.
kids those lessons that maybe the only way to learn them
Mhm.
is to struggle?
Yeah.
Is there a way to manufacture those lessons
Mhm.
that you learn from struggle for somebody that has never struggled?
Correct.
Like I was telling him, I mean, my kid, my son has never worn anything that didn't have an Under Armour or Nike logo on it, which is why I work so hard. So like mission accomplished, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, how do you deal with the downfall of that
Yeah.
too, or the hard part? And they still need those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah,
Yep.
we were talking about that, but I think you're absolutely right. It's
Yeah.
tough
Yeah.
to learn those lessons without struggle.
Correct. But I mean, but then at the same time, kind of like being the devil. What do you say?
Self-advocate.
Yes, is that in every era of our life, there are different type of struggle. Just like in your parents or my parents' life, they had their struggle, and they would say, "You never understand."
Right.
So yes and no. They will not experience the same struggle as us, but they will go through some other struggles that we may never understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. And so have you ever heard the saying, I feel like I'm just repeating what we talked about yesterday, but have you heard the saying, tough times create, hard times create tough men.
Mm-hmm.
Tough men create easy times create soft
Mm-hmm.
men create hard times,
Mm-hmm.
then hard times create
The
tough men,
cycle,
right? So it's
yes.
a cycle,
Yep.
it's a circle rather than a staircase.
Correct. Correct.
And that's my fear, is that my kids are a generation in the soft portion of the circle,
Absolutely.
and their kids will be the tough ones again.
Mm-hmm. No,
Right?
absolutely.
So I'm
Absolutely.
trying to break that
Yeah.
cycle
Yeah.
a little bit to where, your kids take the advantage,
Mm-hmm.
take the lessons
Mm-hmm.
learned, and have a better starting point.
Correct.
But you still have to travel at the same speed.
Yep.
If you have a head start,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're slower,
Yep.
like the people that are struggling will just catch up.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because they're learning the tough way,
Yep.
and will be able to last longer in the race,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. So, yeah, anyways, I admire the tough part of the cycle,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? And the products that are produced
Mm-hmm.
out of the tough part of the cycle, which include people like you and Josh and Carlos. And I think that they are key for us to succeeding as a society, as a team, as a company, as a family, whatever. Those people, the tough people, are the ones that are going to, determine whether we make it or not, whether it's your company or family or country or society or whatever.
Absolutely. Because it also ingrained that work ethics.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there's always that saying is no matter how talented you are, yes, like you have a good start. But the non-talented, if they have the work ethics, they will beat the talented
Yeah.
person. So when you come from nothing or you have to go through hardship, and maybe that's why one of the things that I tell people that I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like that you can't even have a cup of rice. And I never want to get to that stage. I never want to go back there if I have a choice to do differently.
Yeah.
And that's part of why going through when I get to come to America and all that kind of stuff, you work harder, because I don't want to go back to where it was. I
Right.
know what it's like versus these kids nowadays would never know what hunger is like.
But I'll never know what it's like to be bullied on social media either.
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
Or, walking on eggshells to make sure I'm never filmed doing anything that I shouldn't be doing as a teenager. That is different.
Yep.
And hopefully it's just as important, those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Anyways, all right. So you're in Malaysia.
Yep.
Smelling rice.
Yes.
Yeah. Sniffing rice, which is like that's
the highlight about
that may win in the. Okay, yeah, you were poor. You were just like getting excited about the smell of rice, not even eating it, just
yeah, but poor. I mean, this is another level of
that's
poor.
poor.
Okay?
Yeah, Carlos had no shoes.
Oh my God, that's crazy. But yeah, so then eventually, so my mom, of course, gave birth to my youngest sister, so that she's Malaysian. And then, but the other fun part was not fun, but kind of like silly. So in Malaysia, they have, of course, their culture. You can't eat pig or certain stuff like that, and you can't gamble. So you imagine all these refugee people who are sitting around doing nothing at home 24/7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do? So we would take, I remember one time they would take a cigarette box and they would cut and then use that as cards to play cards.
Yeah,
and we would draw on it.
Yeah.
52 deck card. And then when we play the deck of cards, if they catch us, we were in trouble. So one of the punishment would be shaving your head.
Really?
Yes, because they don't allow gambling. So,
wow.
so of course there are men who go through that. So some of those childhood memories that kind of, reminded me of some of those stuff.
So did you, so while you were going through all this, did you know that you guys were struggling? Did you know that you were in a tough spot? Or you were just completely oblivious to how the rest of the world was living, right? Because I mean, I think the common theme, between Josh and Carlos, our talk yesterday was like, we didn't know we were poor, struggling or anything, because hey, all of our friends were in the same spot.
Exactly.
So it was like, this was just life. We were just living it up. It wasn't a struggle then, but looking back, you can always see how you have experience on both ends of the spectrum.
Correct.
Right?
So of course I knew that we were refugees, and I knew this is just a stepping stone or stages that we have to go through to get there. But I wasn't like, oh my God, poor me. We're suffering because everybody is going through the same thing. And I don't know anything better to say that I'm suffering now. It's not like, okay, my friend over there is eating caviar and I'm over here smelling rice, right? So there was no comparison, contrast, anything other than go, okay, well, I know that we are stuck in this refugee camp. We can't get out. We can't do anything. There's no activities. There's no nothing. But it's part of what we have to do. And I was 10, like maybe 9 years old. So you just do what you're told and carefree, but doesn't really understand suffering is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Is like there was nothing to compare to.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
Okay, so you're in Malaysia whipping
and
rice.
then finally once we and then we go to the Philippines. I can't even remember the order now, but we end up there are 3 places: Pulau Bidong, Malaysia, and Philippines. And then another 6 months there. And then eventually in the same kind of setup, it's just the same thing. Basically, you're migrating from one group to another to eventually get to your destination, whatever country that you're going to be going. So for us, it was going to America. So one of the questions they asked my parents is, where in America do you want to go? So my family, we don't know there's 50 states. We just know it's America. And America is this image of heaven. And I don't know much. I just remember that I was told that once we get to America, it's like heaven. We don't have to work. And there's always unlimited amount of food and money's grow on tree. Like literally, that is what I believe as a 9-year-old, that that's what's going to happen. That our life is going to, that's why we're willing to risk life and death to leave behind and go through the journey to get to this heaven. So when my dad was interviewed, asked where, we didn't know where, or this 50 states and all this stuff. So my dad told them that my uncle, who has already been in America and he's in Kansas. So he said, okay, we want to go to Kansas. So they reach out to the sponsor, whatever the case is, right? And then there's a church in Kansas that sponsor us, meaning be responsible for us. So that day finally arrived, and then we get on a plane, and our family, my dad, my mom, my older brother, myself, my older sister, my younger sisters, there's a total of 6 of us, right? And then my cousin, who my dad took along with him all this time. So there's 7 of us. So basically all of us fly to Kansas. And when we got there, we got brought to this kind of like house but abandoned church. I don't know if you know much about Kansas or geographic or how it looks like or whatever the case is, but
I do. That's where I'm from, that area.
so we got to this house. It's very basic, but it's better than anything we ever experienced in my entire life, including in Vietnam, because we live in a countryside. So the first time we see a mattress, not a bed, a mattress. We were, oh my God, this is heaven. We were so happy. My God, this is heaven. This is the best thing. Like, it's soft, not because we've been sleeping on hardwood. So this is the best thing we've ever seen. And we got a house. They give us a house. That is heaven, you know? And so we got situated, and then we stayed there. And that was in September 7, 1989. That was the day that we arrived to America. And after 1 week, of course, my parents got a job at which is one of the biggest thing, and the only thing there is the, what do you call it, like the cow warehouse, or where they
butcher, slaughterhouse.
Yes, where they distribute all the beef. So they did that, and then the kids, of course, we go to school and get situated. So September, it was very hot. It was crazy hot. It was like the heat of the heat wave, so it's really hot. We were okay with the hot because we came from a tropical country. So 100 degrees is normal to us in a sense. Like, we're okay. And then...
Yeah, you see nothing yet.
and then, of course,
winter.
A few months later, winter come. When we saw snow for the very first time, which have no idea that it's even snow, what it's called, that it was snow. It was the most beautiful and magical. Oh my God, this is insane. So we would go outside and play in the snow, and then grab all this thing and carry all this snow in the house. After one day, we're like, okay, this is not for us. I'm like, what is this? It was cold, and we are not good with cold. Windy, tornado. So we are not acclimated at all whatsoever to live in a place that is that cold, because your hands are like basically frozen, right? So every so often we would hear the siren, and then everybody, they go into the bunker to make sure that we don't get, I guess, swooped away. So that was crazy, right? Crazy. But we kind of like, okay, toughen it up. Now, we stayed there for basically exactly 1 year. In that 1 year, basically, we experienced the whole full cycle. During that year in Kansas, what is our fun activities? The best thing, and the thing that we look forward the most to, is on the weekend, we get to go to the grocery. And that is like the best part. Oh my God, we get to go to the grocery. The whole family load up. We go to the grocery and we go to, there's like all this thing in the grocery. And English is obviously very limited. My parents, right? The kids, we know a little more, but we're too immature to understand. Even though we understand what the language may be, but we were too immature to understand. The parents, of course, they know nothing about the English. So, fun story. My sister, of course, at that time, she was just born just a few months. So there's a few necessity that we need to get her. So first is what? Milk. So what do? We go and we find anything the container has baby picture.
Oh.
So we would remember we bought this package home because it's just the most, and what we do is we look for the cutest baby picture. We want our baby to be like that, right? We came and we opened it, it was wipes. We're like, why do we need wipes? That's so America. So we're like, what? Waste of money. What do we do with these wipes, right? But it's just all these lessons learned.
Yeah.
Now, the other one, which we didn't do, but our friends does, is this is a little TMI, okay? I hope it's okay, right? But you know, Asian, we eat animals like dog. Right?
Okay.
So we go to the grocery store, they want to look for dog. So you see the picture of a dog on a can, you assume it's dog. They would buy that, go home, and they would eat it. I know, see, you know, not just when many people go through that whole experience.
I get so
Yeah.
that's funny because not that Asians eat dogs, but
Many do.
well, I guess my
In
understanding
Vietnam, not here.
well, my understanding is that they also, just like you did, whatever's on the can is in the bottle.
Yeah.
And so that's why Gerber, the baby food company, took the babies off of it and had to put like the little carrots or the little green beans or whatever because they thought babies were in. That's what I heard a long time ago. But it was because in other parts of the world, that's how they perceive it.
Yeah.
So whatever's on the
It's
can is
crazy.
in the jar.
Yeah. I mean, culturally, of course, everything. You think about it. You live in a third world country where food is scarcity. You eat basically almost anything. Nowadays, of course, it's different, but back then more so, you know. And so, yeah. So there's a lot of funny story. And the other thing that we look forward to during the summer is there's this one pool, community pool, of course, during the heat. So almost like the whole entire country, I mean, the whole entire state, I guess, was there. So we just played the pool, etc. So after 1 year of that, my parents were just like, okay, this is not happening anymore. This is not what we want. This is not what we left our country for. There got to be something else.
Yeah.
So they still were connected to other friends who were the passenger in the boat. We still connect. So they were talking. And one of the lady who were on the same boat with us says, you got to come to California. It's just like Vietnam. There's Vietnamese food, there's Vietnamese people, the weather is really nice and all that stuff. So my parents like, okay, well, we have to go to California. From Kansas to California is a long way.
Yeah.
But we don't have money to pay for 7 tickets of airplane tickets. That's insane. We barely could survive. So my parents somehow found out there was a person that they know, this man who has a wagon. And he's planning to go to California and he was by himself. So they said, well, can we go with you and we'll pay you some money? So he said, sure. So we were like sardine. We were like this.
Like a station wagon?
Yeah. So the whole family. Back then, there was no seatbelt law, all that stuff. Right? So we all shoved into this station wagon and we got transported to California. I know it's a few days. I can't even remember a few days. And then finally we got to California. We contacted our friend and meet at the supermarket. And then they brought us home to her home.
And I kind of miss those days where I could fit everything that I own in a portion of a car.
Yeah, you know.
I miss those simple times. It's funny whenever you're on that side of the coin You're
Yeah.
trying to get it on this side, and whenever
Mm-hmm.
you're on this side, you
Mm-hmm. Yep.
appreciate that side.
Yep. Yep. And so that's how we got to California, and the journey now just begin, right? So we stayed at this lady's house for I think it was 1 or 2 weeks, so we can get situated. My parents finally, and they didn't have a lot of money, obviously. I want to say they have like maybe a total of 5,000 saved, if anything, for the whole entire family. And so they bought a car. It was a Buick. It was $3,000. And then we rented an apartment. It's a 2-bedroom apartment for 7 people, right? And once we moved out to that apartment after 1 week, the car got stolen. So now what do? Well, we go buy 2 bicycles. That's how we got,
Yeah.
right? And that car was basically gone. It was gone. So we got the 2 bicycle at the swap meet. And the swap meet is our best friend, our best thing that we could ever find.
Yep.
The second thing that was our best friend as well is back then there's this grocery store called Lucky. I don't know if you know if
Yeah.
you lived here. Okay, so Lucky.
I didn't live here whenever they had it, but
Yeah,
I am familiar with it.
yeah, yeah. So what we also learned is that American grocery store, there are higher standard of quality
Hmm.
control, all that kind of stuff. So if the food or the vegetable are kind of wilted, they would throw it out.
Yeah.
So they throw it out in the back of the store. So we know like what day or what time, and then we would wait it. So when they throw it, then we would go and get it and we bring home, and that's also a source of food.
Yeah.
Grapes or whatever the case is, a lot of time it's still edible.
Hmm.
You just kind of weed out a certain thing and then you're good. So that's like our second best thing that we discover. And then the other thing with the house, 2 bedroom. But we're so used to whole family live into a little thing. So why waste? So we rent out 1 bedroom, the whole entire family, mom, dad, 4 siblings, and a cousin. We sleep in 1 bedroom. And that was how we survived for a few years. Then what do my mom? She we would look for, of course, trying to find work. So my mom figure out, okay, what do I know how to do is to sew. Because she is a seamstress when she's in Vietnam. So she bought a sewing machine. And back then, of course, you cannot sew at home because that's illegal. You have to go to a place. We don't want to go to a place because, of course, my mom have to take care of the kids and everything. And if you're at home, you can work 24/7 if you want to. So, but we were afraid because you knew this is a foreign country to us. And whenever people say something, we're like, oh my God. So my mom would, every few days, she would move her sewing machine from one corner to another to the bathroom because we're hiding. And so in case if there's an inspector come, then we don't get caught and we feel like we could get deported or something, right? It was insane. It was insane. Thinking back, it's like you laugh at these things, like, oh my God, but like the it was normal for us back then. It's normal. It was not like, oh my God, why you do that? No, it's normal. Let's hide. Let's hide. It's just normal. And my dad, he got into construction. So he found a job just as a handyman working for this other contractor. But what I really get second now is to see his creativity and how smart he is as well. He would always show up early to every single job site that he is about to go to work. And that day he would ask, what are we supposed to do? And then he would study the surroundings, study
Yeah.
whatever needs to be done. I remember and my dad always loved to like sit and tell stories. So this is why I still remember. Of course, I didn't know or didn't witness, but he tell the story. So one of the situation where the owner or the boss, they were building a house and they have to figure out how, I guess, the roof of the house, how it crossed a certain way. And you have to understand that all these people, they're not like architects. They're just basically trying to learn things as they go and work things out, that kind of thing. And it's cheaper to hire people back then where we don't need a license or whatever the case is too. So my dad goes, he wanted to help this boss of his. Of course, he's to help himself as well. So he would go to all the neighbors' home and he starts studying how the roof, the alignment, so that he can figure out how to do with the job that he was doing. After like maybe 6 months or something, he got the basic fundamental. He went out and become his own boss and get some guys and work for him and do the things they need to do. And that's how he got into the construction world as well, and doing an amazing job for himself without even speaking English. I
Cool.
learned a word in English. It's just insane. It's just insane.
Yeah, that's awesome. That just experience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he not necessarily book smarts or all this education or, um, you know, prepping and talking about it and meeting about it and all that stuff. He didn't do any of that. It's just experience of doing things.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Yep.
yeah, like I was telling you the other day, my New Year's or my slogan for 2025 is LFG, like let's effing go.
Oh.
And it's 2025 is going to be a year of action.
Okay. Yep.
I respect that out of your
Absolutely.
pops that he's just the experience of doing things and don't talk about it, be about it.
Oh yeah.
It's like sounds like
He's a hands-on kind of guy.
That's great.
He always say this, and I think I got this ingrained in me as well. He said, you can't expect people to know your worth. It's okay for you to be underpaid or undervalued in the beginning. Give yourself a chance to show them what you got and then ask for your worth. Don't come in and just expect people to know your worth, but you got to know your worth, but give yourself a chance. So go do it. Show them what you got. And now you have to negotiate about power, that kind of thing, right? So that's that. And then
all right. Okay, so you guys get to California. Your dad starts a construction business, just a general contractor, and
any kind of work, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I saw the car that you pulled up in, and I am familiar with your success and your financial achievements and all that. So, how did you get from Kansas to California to where you are today?
Sure. I want to add one more thing before I get there, right? So, childhood. What kind of childhood do I have in America? Not the typical childhood for sure. So my mom, she sew for a living. So my job every day is go to school and then come home. And this is when I was around 10 years old. And then I would help my mom sew. So eventually when we moved out to a house where we rented, we have a garage. And I would be in the garage with her and I would help her sew. So making these garments, t-shirt or whatever the case is, and it's like $1, $1.25, $2, depends on what the item. And that's what we do day in and day out. So there was really no childhood, really. We call it child labor, I suppose, right? But that's part of what we have to do.
Yep.
So the reason I share that is because it segue into what kind of person I become or how I to do, because you just know what you need to do. You know your responsibility. You know what hard work ethics. There's no such thing as it's not my responsibility.
Right.
It's always your responsibility, whatever you can do in that kind of sense. So
I have a question. So you hear this a lot. Like people say, do what you love. Do what you're passionate about. And somebody like me, that's never even like really crossed my mind. I either do what I have to do, which has been, a lot of my life. And then the other logical piece of me is do what you're good at. And so I've always said, instead of chase what you love or do what you do, get good at something and you'll love it. Did you growing up, like doing what you had to do, does that, like, where do you stand on that statement of like chase your passion and do what you love? You never work a day in your life.
For me, if I know I have to do something, I learn to love what I do. Like,
yeah, that's the way
I can be washing dishes and I'll be the best dishwasher ever.
Yes.
I was a receptionist and I was the best receptionist ever. I used to work for a clothing store and I would be like the best employee. It's not so much of it's pride to me. It's pride of who I am, because whatever it is I do, it's a reputation of me and the product I produce. That's me. It carries my name, my logo in that kind of sense. And
that's the way I was. I don't care if it was selling ketchup or it was selling lawnmowers. I just wanted to be good.
Yeah. It's almost like people say it's a choice. You wake up in the morning. Now, everybody have hardship, emotional, all kind of stuff. But you wake up and you can decide, I'm going to have a good day. Unless you're on a dying bed
Right.
and you have no control of your body, human or emotion. But besides that, if you have the ability to control your emotion, you have a choice to choose to have a good day or a bad day. It takes
Your
the
thoughts become
same
reality.
effort. Yes. So for me, it's just that's as simple as that. What do you want in life? If I have to work, then be happy at doing it because I don't want to be the opposite. Yeah.
Do you sew your own clothes?
I do.
Yeah. You
I
make
do love,
do
and
you
that's
have any like dresses that you've made?
yes, from scratch.
Yeah.
I design clothes. I actually for a good amount of time because first of all, you have to understand, I'm a woman. I love pretty things, but I couldn't afford it when I was young. So what do is use my talent to be creative and things. I would buy fabric because fabric is very cheap. I go to the swap meet and then I would make things. For the longest time, even now today, there are times because I want something unique or something like that. I do that. But prior to maybe about like a few years ago, I have my daughter, so I love wearing matching clothes when she was still okay with wearing the same clothes as me, right? I would make matching dresses, matching outfits. I love it, and that's one of the things I am very passionate about.
Yeah.
I can be sitting in a room like this and sew, and I can do it 24 hours, and I'd be okay. I'm
Yeah.
content.
Hmm.
I love it.
Well, you can make me some strong like wool gear if you want.
But that's like way to actually that was part of one of the things that helped me in my journey too. Since we talked about sewing, I want to share that and then we'll go back. But in 2020, COVID happens and I have a sewing machine at home. I don't sew every day or anything like that, but it happened. So, whenever you buy clothes and I don't go to the tailor shop, I fix things for myself, my family. So with that being said, I have it at home. So I use it. So in 2020, when COVID hits, one of the things that we're short of is masks. So
Oh, yeah.
I started making some masks just for my family and a few friends, and I post on social media. One thing led to another. We have friends. My Facebook friend contacted me who are nurses, say, we're short with masks. Would you be able to help us and donate some? So I would make like 25, 50, and I would send it to them. And then being just me sharing, asking us do, and then I get more people contacting. This was what before everybody else was doing making masks. I was already making masks and giving it out. And eventually I have friends who was in New York. He's a cop in New York. So he said, our department also need masks. So I go, okay, how many people do you have there? So I made a batch and I sent it to him. And then each time I do this, I share. So eventually we have people who want to ask for more. So hospital, nursing home, Fountain Valley Hospital, all these in the whole country because of Facebook. And so, of course, I cannot just do that all by myself. But what I love is the community get together. So there are people who says, I want to do what you do. I don't know how to do it. What can I do? So there's people who donate fabric that they may have at home. Elasticity. People says, I don't know how to sew, but I can cut. Can you create the pattern and we can cut for you? And then there are people who donate money so we can go buy more elasticity. So we created a team called Masketeers. And we did over 35,000 handmade masks sewing. And we basically did not charge anyone $1. Even shipping was completely free. And that was really amazing that we get to do that during the time of crisis, right? And of course, the whole team did that. So, like I was being interviewed on NBC, ABC, like all these other channels, as we were giving all this thing out as well. So to me, sometimes in life, you never know the skill set or whatever the cases you have, and you can use, and you can become an asset or a helping hand to other people.
Yeah.
So I felt blessed that I have the skill set to be able to do something like that, than to help the community during that time.
Well, and your experiences of needing a helping hand yourself, as a family, you know what it's like to struggle or go without, whatever. So
Yep.
it's interesting.
Yeah. So going back to how do I got to where I am today? So
what was your first job? Other than your child labor, sewing,
without getting paid.
Yeah. Your volunteer work.
I did get money for ice cream. Okay, that was the fun part, ice cream, right? Anyway, so when I first got to work, it was a clothing store. One of those called Mo5. One of those mama's papa's store you see that they sell women clothes. So my job is to basically hang the clothes on the hanger. and I got the best employee of the month all the time too. So I worked there for
It's when
maybe,
you were a teenager or
yeah, like
young
I was
adult?
in high school. And then I was working there for a couple, maybe a year or so. Okay. And then my next real job was at a collection agency.
Mm.
A family friend who we know, work at a collection agency. So I was there as a receptionist to help do miscellaneous stuff, not calling people money, obviously. Um, and then from there, I was working there for a couple years, still in high school, couple years, and I was very detail oriented. And the owner saw that and she said, well, we need someone in our claim department who can do like judgments and all that kind of stuff for the attorney. Because from the collection, they do go to court. So they asked me if they kind of promoted me, to go do that. So I was preparing judgments and complaints, etc., to go to court with the attorney. And that was another experience that was pretty cool to learn more about like the real world in that kind of sense, right? And then after working there for a few years, and then I was ready to go to college, and I didn't know. Besides working, that's all I know. My parents, of course, don't really know much to help me or educate or guide me as far as what to do as a career wise. We just know go to school, but then go to do what? So when I have to pick a major when I go into college, I was like, okay, well, what major? So I didn't know what major. I have absolutely zero guidance at all. So I picked business, finance, because I figure, okay, well, it's business and it's finance. We need to learn about money. So I took a semester off, went back to Vietnam that year, and then came back and go, okay, I'm going to go to college. At that time, I said, I want to find a different job than what I was doing at the collection agency. I want a part-time job while I go to school. And I enroll at the Cal State Fullerton in the El Toro campus in Irvine. And I found an ad as a receptionist. So okay, let me try to do that. So when I apply for that job, the owner of the company has already hired somebody else. But her husband has a bonding company and he is looking for a receptionist. So she just gave him a stack of resume and including mine in there. So I got called in for the interview and I got hired on the spot. And that's how I got hired to become a receptionist as a bonding in a bonding company. Now, what is a bonding company? I have no idea. I was like, okay, just hire me. The receptionist, pick up the phone. How hard could it be? Right. But what I learned is that they needed someone who's very detail oriented, and due to my background as doing judgments and all that kind of stuff, so they go, okay, this girl has a brain, can be detail oriented. This is another crazy part. This is 24 years ago, I think, at least. Yeah, 2000. Yes, 2000, because just Y2K just happened, and it was 2000. It was 2000, end of 2000, yes. And my my job as a receptionist, they pay me $14 an hour. That's
That's
pretty.
pretty good.
I know.
That's pretty great,
That's
especially
really,
in 2000.
yeah. I mean, 20 something years ago, right? Um. So I was like, okay, I got hired on the spot. They needed someone who can do in the job, whatever the case is, right? So I have no idea. 2 weeks in the job, I still don't know what they do.
You got a little taste of the money
But yeah. So all I do is I sit at this front desk and I pick up the phone. And it's a bonding company, in case you don't know what it is, or most people don't know what it is basically it's an insurance kind of like, right? So all of the construction jobs, anything that's public works, let's say school district, federal, anything that they need to build something and they're using public funds, they are supposed to provide a payment and performance bond to guarantee that they will fulfill their job. Besides other insurance, this is a payment and performance bond, and it's called bonding. And so this is a broker who basically find an insurance company to guarantee these contractors with their contract, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually do bonds.
Okay, good. Okay. So with that being said, 2 weeks in, I have no idea. And then eventually, I'm like, okay, now I know what they're doing. But I play it cool. Okay, I know what you guys are doing. So as I was sitting in the front desk, and it's a bonding company, it's not like PNC or something where there's phone call all the time. It's very, very rare, like barely phone calls. So I am bored to death, sitting there waiting for a phone call to answer. And because I'm so new and they don't really tell me what to do, they just, okay, slowly, and not a lot of people teach. So what I was doing was I was so bored and I played solitaire.
Solitaire.
Solitaire. Okay. One day, the wife of the boss called and asked for Eric. And I said, he's not here. And she's just being friendly. Oh, what you doing? I go, I'm playing solitaire. You can see I'm very honest. I'm like, well, I'm bored. I'm sitting here waiting. There's no phone calls and I just have nothing to do. So I'm just playing on the computer. Okay. So the next day, the boss came in and he called me into the office and he's like, I heard that you were bored and you were playing solitaire. I go, yeah. So I go, oh, okay. So then he said, why don't you do this for me? So he gave me a task. Of course, I do it amazing, right? Nothing less, right? And then I gave it to him and then another task. And I think this is when he's like, this girl can do some work. And so now he's giving me work versus just let me sitting there. And then shortly after that, 9/11 hits. What year is 9/11?
2001.
2001, yeah. So 9/11 hits. And of course, it was the whole chaos and everything. And then all the economy were affected, construction included. So during that time, they were downsizing. The company were downsizing of some of the people. But I'm a receptionist. I'm like the cheapest of all the whole entire staff. So they keep me. So sometimes being the bottom of the bottom floor, there's a benefit. But because of what happened and because the people above were basically let go, I was on the bottom and I was being basically held back, right? But now there's more work to be done. So I was just like, okay, what can I do? So there was no training. There was short staff. So what I do is I would pick the phone, I would call whoever that I need to call, and I just say, I am new. I'm just a receptionist. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but can you help me get this particular task done?
Great strategy. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's a great strategy.
And people love honesty.
Love
and
helping.
They love helping and they love teaching.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So that was my pitch to every single person that I work with and started from the ground up.
So funny. So I did the exact same thing when I would cold call people. When I first started cold calling people, because when I got my broker job to sell insurance, that's exactly what I would do. Look, I'm new at this. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, but I would love to just come in and steal 15 minutes of your time and show me what your policy looks like. Show me, what kind of services you're getting or not getting, or what I should be saying, not to you, but what should I say to other people?
Yeah.
And I had like 4 meetings like that.
Yeah.
And then I finally got the hang of it and I knew I picked up a couple talking points and it was smooth sailing from there. But I love that you did that because I don't know. It just seemed natural to me. It seemed very natural to me just because I refuse to be any sort of fake, and just being honest and genuine. Well, I guess I did fib sometimes. If I said something wrong or somebody asked me a question that I didn't know, I didn't want to embarrass our company.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, oh, I'm just the scheduler. I'm just the scheduler. I'm supposed to set up meetings and, I don't really know anything about insurance.
Yeah.
So like that was my parachute. I called it, just, hey, I'm just a telemarketer, just a schedule calls.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would tell them that, hey, I'm new and I don't know what to do. And, I'm sure you get calls like this all the time. You're right down the street from me, or I'm going to be in your area tomorrow. Can I stop by?
Yeah.
So that's cool. But I had the exact same experience that people love honesty.
Yes. And they love helping.
They love helping.
Yep.
And that was the approach with this podcast even. It's like, even some of the guys are like, aren't you going to, wear a tie or, a suit or like dress up or whatever? I'm like, have you ever seen me do that? Like just being myself. And they're like, well, no, but I'm like, well, then no, I'm not. No, I'm going to be myself.
Am I
If
overdressed?
no, 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 you're great. But if people like it, great. If they
Yeah,
don't, great.
yeah, yeah.
So, either take it or leave it.
No,
And
I absolutely believe that just being yourself should
yeah,
be enough. We will always try to grow and improve, but you should be yourself.
yeah. And it's not even that it's just enough, but people love it,
Yeah,
right? People love
yeah,
honesty
yeah.
and being genuine. There's a reason that like you don't see Elon Musk in suit and ties,
Mhm,
right? He comes out in t-shirt and
mhm,
jeans because
mhm.
he's working,
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't worry about that stuff. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
And so that's also how I made friends. And of course, I love to learn. I'm one of those. I think this is like my dad's trait for sure. Like I'm like a sponge. I love challenges. I love when people say you can't do something. I'm like, I'm gonna show you I can do it. It's the I don't want to say ego or something, but to prove someone wrong,
yeah,
that drives me so hard.
yeah, you're competitive. You got
Yes, very competitive. Yeah. So with that, right? And then so I started doing that. And then eventually, of course, I was helping the company grow. And during that time, I was going to school. Now, when I was going to school, I have a lot of ideas and all these things versus the two owners who own the company. They were, of course, they're like older, so they're just running and they're so outdated with everything in the office as far as technology and everything. And I'm like this new idealistic of like, oh my God, you got to do this, you got to do that. So part of what I do was converting the whole entire company uh, into paperless.
oh, okay.
Now, during that era, which is a lot ahead compared to all the other people, there's a saying if you want a job done quick and you find someone who's lazy in that kind of sense, right? Because they look for a shortcut. But for me, it's a good shortcut, not negative or bad shortcut. For me was how can I get something done faster, quicker,
More
more
efficient.
efficient? Yes, that was the word, right? Um, because one of the things that I always see happen is that missing files. Like, where's this file? Then we look every because it's a folder still. And I'm like, well, if it's scanned in, you never ever see a file miss again. You search by the name and that's it. So I basically created in the system, just using whatever that I know, and then basically help them and scan everything. Now, when I explain that to them, they're like, "No, this is insane. Are you crazy?" So I said, "Why don't I do this? Why don't I do both the scanning and the file? And we're gonna do this with the whole our calendar and everything for 6 months. I want you to see it. We won't miss a thing.
Mm.
And when that happens, then we can switch everything over." So I was doing double the work because I wanted to prove a point. I want to make sure that it's almost like you want to go fast, you have to go slow to go fast, right? So I did that. And I remember they were going to the owners, they're enjoying life, right? So they're going to meetings. And their thing is if I can go to the office in the least amount and I can do my thing. So when they go to a meeting and they didn't have to go to the office to pick up the file, and then they were able to do what they need to do. And like, oh my
Saw the
God.
benefit of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Because back during that era, when I submit a file to the underwriter, we would send to like several insurance carrier. We would FedEx and we would make copies. And I would the whole entire floor is just piles and piles of all these paperwork, financial statement, work in progress, questionnaires, all these things packaged and then put into a FedEx. And I said to them, I go, can you imagine that we just emailed to 7 different carriers in like that, and they have it right now in review for you.
Yeah.
And at that time, we were emailing, but they just never think about email the whole package.
Right.
Because people are not used to look at things they just on paper thing. But you have to understand insurance underwriter, like the oldest, the last to change.
Yeah, always. It's so dusty.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
probably received that email and then printed it out.
Yeah, exactly. But the key to me, I was selling, first of all, it's faster and it saves us money.
Ink,
Yeah, all that
nipping,
stuff. Yeah,
paper.
yeah. So we did it. So we did all that before everybody else was doing it back then. So I became very valuable to the company, and I got moved up, moved up, moved up. So in a very short period of time, my salary increased people like get 10%. I get like 50%, almost 100% increase in my salary. And I was working really hard because I was very dedicated. And I'm like, we're working full time now.
Well, that's a very good lesson.
Yeah.
And I've even told my employees this before, is you have to make yourself so valuable that I can't get rid of you. Matter of fact, that you may have a little leverage on me, that I have to pay you more. Make me pay you more, rather than feeling entitled, or, hey, I got my degree now, I need a raise. For what? What's that do for me or the company? Nothing. Make yourself valuable, make yourself indispensable.
Get your skill set to the next level again.
Yeah.
To make yourself more valuable. So again, it wasn't like something like I planned, or it wasn't like I have this, it's just something that I naturally do in that kind of. I want to help, right, to do. So and then of course I was so burned out too. So I'm like, God, I'm going to work, and I was making good money, and I'm looking at my friends, none of them, even the graduate. I'm like, why am I going to school? So I said, maybe I'll just take one semester off, like to kind of like relax a little bit, because I was working so hard doing all this thing. So you know how it goes.
Yeah.
One semester become two, two become three, and then the year go by. And then I'm like, well, if I get a degree, am I still going to stay at this company? And what's going to change? So then I go, I didn't like school, to be honest, right? It was not for me. So I said, maybe I don't need to go back to school. So I didn't. So I did not graduate. And then eventually I got moved up through the ladder, and became a vice president of the company, running the whole operation, helped the company open a few offices, making almost $200,000 a year with the company.
And this is when?
So I left that company 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I was with the company for 16 years, one company. Imagine that.
Okay, so like
Starting as a
2016 or
receptionist.
2017.
Yeah, starting as a receptionist, and I worked my way up and stayed there. And when I was hired at a job, I said I just wanted to work for the 2 years while I'm in school.
For $14 an hour.
Yeah, $14 an hour. And I ended up staying there for 16 years of my life.
And you left as a VP, 200,000
Yeah.
a year.
Yep. Yeah.
So how did you get from that to what you are today?
So imagine when you are with a company for 16 years, of course, eventually you get plateau to whatever that you're doing. And then, of course, I could do it in my sleep, and I wanted more challenge. I wanted more in life. And I felt like I had maxed out in that capacity, in that company, in that role. Is where else can I do? And then, of course, I got married. I have a daughter, and I wanted to be able to have the ability to raise a child, raise a family, has more time, and more money in that kind of sense. And I start looking around to see, okay, what else in the same industry? And I was getting paid a lot more than most people in my industry doing what I do, hands down. No one else is making that kind of money and have my kind of schedule and do things so in my capacity. So I realized that, okay, well, maybe this is where I'm going to retire. This is it, right? But I wasn't satisfied or content, and I just like, I want more. And then something happened that triggered that desire more. About 9 years ago, it was Thanksgiving, right? The week before Thanksgiving, I threw a party, and then that night I collapsed on the floor and up in the ER. And what had happened was that apparently I contracted like a flu, and the virus attacked my hearing nerve, which is causing the vertigo, got me to collapse, and then damaged the nerve of my hearing, caused me to have what is called a sudden hearing loss. And my brain says, hey, I don't hear any sound coming in. So it gave me tinnitus, which is a hissing sound. All happened without me knowing what this is all about. So the flu hit me, but the virus attacked the nerve before I actually have the flu symptoms of having a flu even. So end up in the ER, and then this is when everything was kind of discovered and explained to me. So they gave me the vertigo patch, and they said, go home, and, typically it takes about 2 weeks. You should recover. Well, 2 weeks becomes 2 months. 2 months become 2 years. So after 3 months within that 3 months, I have episode of vertigo, which is I would collapse anytime. like in the shower, in driving. So I stopped driving because I crashed. So I was kind of like disabled in a sense, stayed at home and can't really do anything. Now, fast forward 2 years, I'm completely like there's no cure anymore. There's no recovery. So as a result of this, I'm completely deaf on one side, on my left hand side, and I have tinnitus in my head, which is that hissing sound 24/7 for the rest of my life. So when that first happened, it was very devastating because adjusting. Now, if someone was born with like deaf, you don't know anything else. You just that's what you know.
Yeah.
But when you are not, and things were taken away from you, it's like, oh my god, like, and then I have this hissing sound in my head, which I couldn't sleep. I, I just want peace. I just want quiet. I could never ever have that peace and quiet again for the rest of my life. And it was very hard at the time. I couldn't sleep, and I was so deprived. Imagine, can't sleep for like a few days, just deprived. And then I was just in this depression mode. It was just like, oh, why me? How am I supposed to survive? And I remember I go to the doctors and get the ENT test, and I would sit there and I would just cry like it's the end of the world because I've never had anything like this happen to me. I didn't know how to cope with it. It was very hard. And then if I'm go to a party or an event, I would have headaches because of all the noise that are basically canceling in my head. I couldn't go to parties. And then when I'm at home, my husband and I would talk, and sometimes it's very hard because he's upstairs. I will say something I can't hear, or where are you at? I'm here. Where's here? You need two ears to be able to pinpoint a location. I didn't know that. With one, you hear noise, but you don't know where. Like if I'm in a parking lot and someone called my name, I'm doing the 360. Where's that noise come from? So you can only imagine the communication is very hard. As simple, but it's very hard in arguments. What I also learned is this. When something tragic happened, like for example, in my case, in the very first month, all your friends and family, like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry. I pray for you. Very sympathetic, which is very normal. They should be, right? And then the second month, you don't see them anymore. They're back to their life. Okay? The third month is where the negative comes in. It's like now you're interfering in their life. Not just your life, you're interfering in their life. It's like, why are you not better already in that kind of sense? And I was in this depression mode and I wouldn't do anything, go anywhere. I was just at home and just like, all I can think is, why me? And I remember one day, at that time, my daughter was about 4.5 years old. Now, before this happened, I was this like super mom. Like I would do everything. My husband never had to do anything. I go to work. I take my daughter to go to school. I would do the ballet. I would do the soccer. I would do everything. I come home and I cook like everything. And I love is my pride and joy. And I do everything. And that was completely okay. So when I couldn't drive and I couldn't do all these things, I'm just at home. I felt like I'm so like helpless, like disabled in that
Yeah.
kind of sense, right? Because of the amount of things I do. And now I don't get to do any of those stuff. So in depression. My daughter, it was like probably about 5 p.m. We're sitting, and then she said one thing. She said, I miss my old mommy." And I look at her, I go, "What do you mean you missed your old mommy?" She go, "Mom, you used to do everything with me, and now you don't do anymore." And that just like stabbed me and just hurt me so bad. And that night I was just crying, like, oh my God, because by nature I'm a very happy person, like too happy sometimes as a human being. Like people are like, how can you be that happy? That kind of sense, right? Positive. You can almost like find someone who's that positive. And then all of a sudden, 360 is just like gone. And so I sat there and I just reflect about my life. And I'm like, I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to be this person that is known like, okay, now I don't want my daughter to not recognize who I am anymore. And that night I cried and I just reflect and I go, I don't want to be that person. And then you start thinking, I'm still alive. I have one ear.
LFG, let's effing go.
And I just like, what am I crying about? There are people dying. There are people who have cancer, lose a limb. And here I am,
Yeah. So,
lost hearing.
I mean, something bad happens to you, whether you lose a game or lose a business deal or something happens to you physically or emotionally or mentally or whatever, there's two ways you can go about it. You can get mad and motivated, or you can get sad. Those are the only two options. Either you use the situation or the situation will use you. Not might use you. It will use you. So either you use it or it uses you, period.
Yeah, yeah. So that night I made a decision that I'm going to be better. And that's how I got better. I wake up in the next morning and I was completely a better person, a new person. My husband, or husband at that time, now ex-husband, he is a psychologist. And he said to me that all his years, 20-something years of practicing and helping people coping with their situation, etc., he've never met someone who decide that they're going to be better and then they're just better.
They always need some sort of external support or help, or
yeah, like they may want to or something, but with that moment, I realized something is that your mind is so strong and powerful that you can decide and choose to do whatever that your heart desires to do. Of course, there's limitation when it comes to I want to fly is a different story, right? But as a human being with life with things, it started out with you wanting something and you wanted something bad enough that you're willing to change. And that was just me at that moment. It's like, I want. So when I say I'm better, not like, okay, now I can hear. No, I'm still deaf. I still have tinnitus, but I'm better emotionally where I no longer think I'm a victim, that I have to be helpless. I have to sit at home and cry. And I go, I'm better because now I can go out and do all the things that and nothing's going to stop me from doing it. So that following week, my girlfriend who bought a house has a housewarming party and also a Super Bowl party. And me being her best friend when I got there. And it was the first time that I actually leave my house.
I feel like a lot of things in your life happen at parties.
Yes. That's so when I got there, she asked me, hey, can you sell the squares? I'm sure you know what that is, right?
See the squares?
The squares for the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Like the gambling
game. Yeah. So I'm walking around making people buy $5 per square.
Yeah.
And so there's this couple there who were watching me, and they said they just love my energy that I'm going around the room and making people participate and doing all this thing. And they said, I want that girl in my team. And so that is basically where they said, connected with me and said, would you be interested in a business opportunity? Now, going back to where I said I was with the company for 16 years, I want more and everything, but I haven't found the opportunity. But I was open. And then when this happened, what I realized through my illness is that life is not short. Most people say life is short. Yes, for a very small amount of the population. Most of us, life is very long. Most of us is going to experience an illness, an accident somewhere along the way, and we won't die, and we're going to survive, and then we're going to live. So life is very long. And so for me, I was one of those people who has something happen to me, and I still survive and still live. And I go, if life, and then this is like this awakening. It's like, if life is very short, you want to maximize whatever it is you do right away. If life is long, do you want to suffer and be unhappy for that long? Like, it's even more motivation for you to do something more now than ever. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people go, oh, life is short, you have to do something. No, if life is long, God, I don't want 30 years, 40 years of unhappiness. So I was just like, I don't want to be content because I knew I wasn't no longer growing with that company. I know I'm no longer passionate about that company anymore. And I wanted something more in life, but I didn't know where and how. So this opportunity kind of come, and I was like, sure, I'm open up. Let's listen. So I sat down and they shared with me about life insurance with living benefits. Life insurance, I know. And I have been in the so-called insurance industry already for 16 years right now. So I know what is life insurance. But when they told me about life insurance with living benefits, I have no idea what it's all about. And when they explained to me that it's life insurance, you don't have to die to use, that in the event you experience an illness, an accident, heart attack, stroke, maybe a bad car accident, put you on disability, you can become your own beneficiary and cash out your own life insurance while you're still alive.
That kind of hit home for you.
That really hit home because, and I tell people things happen for a reason. If I did not experience an illness, I would not understand the suffering of an illness. While to me, in mine, it was a minor compared. At that time, it was huge, not minor, right? But imagine people out there who have cancer, heart attack, stroke, ALS, I mean, all these other illnesses and the suffering that they have to go through. The emotional stage is one thing, but the financial stage as well. So when I learned about life insurance, you don't have to die to use life insurance where you get to cash out your own death benefit when you're still alive. I was just like, is this even real?
Yeah.
How
Okay.
is that possible?
Okay. So you took the leap, and so walk me through your first day in life insurance to where you are today.
So I said, okay, let me learn what it's about. So once I understand it, of course, I bought a policy for myself because I just said, okay, well, let me test on myself first, right? Learn. I'm one of those people, became an agent, right? And I print out a package and I would highlight every single thing that I don't understand on this package of 40 pages. Most people don't do that. Okay, but I want to know everything about it because this is very intriguing. So then I did that, and then I contacted the insurance company and I asked questions. Actually, to be honest, the agent who sold the policy didn't know some of the question I asked. So I contacted the insurance carrier directly and I wanted to know. So that was the first thing. The second thing I did was, because I'm in the insurance industry already, so I want to make sure this company is legit. So I went to the Department of Insurance and I looked up their financial. I looked up the long history. How long had this company been around? Were there any claim? Everything about it to ensure what rating is this company even legit for me to represent. And when all that was checked out, I'm like, okay, I feel good about this. And then I said, this is something that everybody needs to know. Whether they believe it or not, this is something I believe that everybody needs to know, everybody have to have. Because no one ever planned to get sick, right? And I also realized something too, is that about 2% of the population is going to have an unexpected death, meaning you get a car accident or something happens, you die. 98% of us is going to live. And that 98% of us is going to experience some type of illness, accident along the way. And all we know in our entire life is you buy a policy, you have to die in order for your family to cash out. And now we have the same policy, but you don't have to die. You get sick, you get to cash out. That was just like, oh my God. So I said, let me dig in, let me learn. I've never done sales in my entire life. As you know, I did clothing store, sewing, okay, and then work for an insurance, which is as an admin or a vice president, but not sale. Never sell anything my entire life. But I go, this is something is different. This is something that not just people want, but it's something you absolutely need. So I was on a mission. I'm like, okay, let me try this out. Let me learn and see what it's all about. So I joined to learn about the product, to learn everything. And then through that first 6 months of my trial and error, learning how to present, learning the ins and the outs, learning rejection, everything that I need to know while I still have a full-time job.
Okay. So you were doing it on the side.
So I was still a mom and I was still a full-time job. So I was working like 18 hours a day during that time because my waking up and taking my daughter, all that stuff, and then cook dinner and then come home. And then my second shift of this business opportunity is like from 8 to 12 a.m. in the morning. Because I wanted to learn. And I'm one of those people like, I need to know everything, right? So I was investing so much time learning. During that 6 months part-time, I made a total of $35,000.
Pretty good. Part-time?
Part-time, yeah. Especially you know nothing about the industry. You've never done sales my entire life. So you're learning everything from scratch. So I'm like, wow, this is But then when I did that and I saw, I'm like, it worked.
Yeah.
Because through my experience of talking to these client referrals, etc., I realized that they also see what I see, and that's why they buy a policy.
So you like the product, your story was resonating
Mm-hmm.
with people, and you were selling something that they could afford. So the way I looked at insurance whenever I started, said the thing I liked about it is however much you put into it, that's how much you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a receptionist,
Mm-hmm.
probably not the same formula,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can put more work into being a receptionist, but it does nothing to your pay,
Correct.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I like about
Mm-hmm.
insurance is
Mm-hmm.
the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yep. I see the platform, the company, I see the resources, I see other people who are very successful, making 6 figures, 7 figures income. And I'm like, they're not think different than me. Why couldn't I do that as well? I worked 16 years of my life to get to 200,000. And then I see some of these people in their 20s, and I was already in my 30s, and they were making 6 figures income. And I'm like, something is wrong. I'm not doing something right. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to learn. And even I remember the person who was training me at that time would like remind, oh, we have meetings to learn. And I pick up the phone. I go, hey, I just wanted to know, you don't have to waste your time reminding me. Save that energy, go ask somebody else. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I will be there even unless I'm on a dying bed. I'm committed, and I think that's one of the things that makes where my journey is different from other people is that my willingness to learn something in the beginning, like without that ego, like I'm a vice president, I'm making 200,000 already. Who are you to teach me? Because the person who teach me doesn't even make as much as me. But my experience wasn't in this field. It was something else. In this field, I'm scratched, a blank piece of paper. So I come in as a student. So I said, let me learn. I remember there are days I was even sick. I couldn't even speak. But I show up to learn. So all I need is, can I hear? And I never miss a meeting. Never miss a meeting. So through that journey, when I was doing what I do, my reputation, because people say she's driven, she's serious. So there are people who ask me, can you help my team giving me leads? Because I'm good, I can close because of my track record. So they're giving me leads without me looking for one. So through this journey, I also learned something, of course, with all these experiences that you just have to do without asking for anything back.
Right.
People will see.
Yeah.
You don't have to advertise, but I'm good. People will see if you're good or not. They will see your work ethics. And that's basically how I was able to accumulate clientele, accumulate leads and all that kind of stuff. And then after 6 months of doing it part-time, making about 35,000, I decided to quit my 16 years career as a vice president that was making a salary full benefit of 200,000 a year. Now, when I made that decision, it was not an easy decision. And everybody, including my husband at the time, thought I was crazy. Because most people, you would have to make equal to or close to or more for you to quit. But I asked myself, if it took me 16 years to get to where I am today, and this has taken me 6 months, and now I see that it's working, in order for me to have an opportunity to exceed, I have to give myself all in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so that moment is really what interests me and what this podcast is all about. The moment that you were an employee and you decided to take that jump, because what you were going to is no guaranteed salary, no guaranteed pay match, no more 40-hour work week, no such thing as a 40-hour work week as an entrepreneur, no more holidays, no more weekends, at least for a period of time, and all the liability and, no guarantees. Matter of fact, you could go to zero or negative.
Yeah.
You invest all this time, money, effort, energy into learning, licensing, trial and error, perfecting your pitch, perfecting your craft. That interests me because I think all entrepreneurs need a a little bit of crazy
Yeah.
in them
Yeah.
to leave that comfort
Yeah.
and even fight nature
Yeah.
a little
But it's
bit.
calculated, meaning that I did make 35,000. I understand the product now. I understand. So I made a, is that a guarantee? No, but it's a calculated risk in that
It
kind of sense.
it is, but it's also a justification to your brain because you have to fight nature. So your brain will naturally take the easiest route because its only purpose is survival.
Mm-hmm.
All it cares about
Yep.
is survival. And
Mm-hmm.
to survive, you have to avoid burning calories. That's how your brain operates.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll always take the shortcut. You'll
Mm-hmm.
always do the more efficient things. Why it's hard to get up in the morning. That's why it's tough not to get up off the couch
Mm-hmm.
and, not binge watch a
Mm-hmm.
Netflix series,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your brain does not want to burn
Mm-hmm.
calories. And so to make that jump
Switch.
and put yourself into
Mm-hmm.
harm's way
Mm-hmm.
is fighting nature.
Yeah.
So you have to have a little bit of crazy in
For
you
sure.
to be
I
able to
ain't
do
crazy.
that. No, every
Uh-huh.
entrepreneur, right,
Yeah.
is or insanity or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
crazy. I
Not
know
a
it's not
bad
a
crazy, a good crazy.
exactly right.
Yes.
You have to have a
Mm-hmm.
good
Yep.
amount of crazy or
Yeah.
a good amount of
Correct.
justification or
Correct.
calculation to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, only somebody that is a little bit
Mm-hmm.
off would put themselves into harm's way
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
at risk.
Yeah.
Some of you put your family at risk,
Mm-hmm.
yourself at
Mm-hmm.
risk, put your future at
Mm-hmm.
risk. Everything. It's a calculated
Yeah.
gamble.
Yeah. But here's, yes, all those unknown, right? But then I look at what do I know that I can know for sure? First of all, I know me. I know my work ethics. I know I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to go out there because at the end of the day, I look at what is the difference between those all those people successful and those people don't. Recently, someone asked me to do a little speech, and they asked me, "Can you share with us like one thing, not two, three, one thing that helped you or made you that you're different that give you the success?" I said, if there's only one thing is this: the desire of becoming successful consistently every single day. Many of us will want to become successful. You want to lose weight. You want what, like, oh, I don't care what you want. But do you want it every day or you just want it for a period of time and you talk your way out because you don't desire it that much anymore and you go, oh, it's not so bad. Let's say someone who says, what, right now it's 2025. The number one thing that people talk about is weight. I want to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever the case is.
Especially now,
Yes,
January.
January, right? You go to Costco and you buy this membership. And they go to the gym maybe in the first month.
We call them January gym rats.
Yeah, right? And then the second month, you see half the people are gone. And the third month, maybe gone, right? Because they want to, but if they want the idea of it, they don't want it consistently every single day. It's easy to do things you like when you're excited. But when you don't like, you're not excited, will you still show up and do it every day as well?
Everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do what lions do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that goes back to my childhood.
Yeah.
The hard head, persistency, the hardship, you need to do what you need to do, right? So I think all that kind of play a factor and goes in circle. It's like, I want more in life. And I know and I believe I'm capable and I believe I deserve more. The only question now is, am I willing to do it or not?
Do you feel like your experiences are pushing you in a direction, or do you feel like something is pulling you in a direction, or both?
It's funny because think about this too. I have other siblings
Yeah.
who are my age, my older brother, my older sister as well, right? Going through the same experience I did. Nothing different, but they're not like who I am or where I am today. So a part of that, I want to say maybe it's just how we're made, I guess. I don't know, to be honest with you.
I feel like mine evolved a little bit, right? So in the beginning, young, dumb, and hungry, I was being pushed
Mm-hmm.
that I do not want to go back there.
Yeah.
So that's what was pushing me.
Well, for sure that. But
And
I'm trying to understand,
and
like,
then I think it evolved to now I see what I want
mm-hmm,
or what I'm meant for,
mm-hmm,
a destiny, a
mm-hmm,
purpose. And now I feel like I'm being pulled.
mm-hmm.
Like I was pushed
Okay.
to a point and
Yeah.
now I am being pulled to fulfill
Yeah.
destiny or purpose or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's not some grand
Yeah.
universal
Yeah. Yeah.
blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
But even if it's just your family,
Yeah.
got my destiny is to make sure that every generation after me has a
Uh-huh. Yeah.
or whatever, right? Do you feel like you're being pulled towards something or do you feel like you're being pushed or both?
Well, talk about family. There was a segment that I didn't share earlier, but I'm gonna go back to that as well because talk about, being hard headed or proven wrong. At the age of 18, I moved out. And it was it was hard because of the collide of the two generation. Coming to America when I was 8 years or 9 years, 10 years old, and learning, adapting, and all that kind of stuff. And my parents, who is of course a much older generation, which they're thinking back in the days, I'm growing grain, and what are you talking about, right? So it was always this clash, and I'm very hard headed. So one day when I was turning 18, I'm like, I'm done. I'm gonna move out. And my determination at that time was, I'm going to show you that I'm going to survive without needing your help at all, ever. It sounds so bad to say
It
that,
doesn't.
right?
I had the same
Like a
thing.
rebellious, but it was not like I was chasing boys. It was not like, it was none of that. But it was just pure of like, I want them to see. And they didn't see that then, of course. So I just walked out, rent a room, take the bus, go to school. And I remember Pacific, my very first time that I got to the laundromat to do my laundry. And I have quarters and I'm trying to calculate how I can maximize my laundry. And I put the clothing into this one washing machine. And then later on, I found another machine and I'm like, oh my God, this is a better deal. So I moved everything. It was water was dripping everywhere to go to the other machine. And I'm sitting there. It was like 11 p.m. at night by myself in this little room. And I'm like, and I was crying. Like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I here? I was crying. But yet, even though I was crying, I was still so fierce of just like, I'm not going to go back to my parents' house and say, I'm sorry, or, I, I'm going to show them. So,
You need those laundromat moments. You
yeah,
do.
yeah,
I think you can look at anybody's story and
mhm,
everybody has one,
yeah,
whether they've advertised it or
mhm,
not. I was brushing my teeth in a Taco Bell bathroom
mhm,
and looking myself in the mirror
mhm,
in a Taco Bell bathroom, and somebody's knocking on it,
mhm,
wanting me to get out.
yeah,
And, you look at yourself and you're like, either like, let's go,
yeah,
or
yeah,
this is not my forever.
yeah, yeah. So going back to tie that in what you're saying, I guess it's pushing me for sure, right? In those early stages of not wanting to be complacent, not feeling like a failure, not feel like I'm depending on anybody else because I want to show like I don't need you. It's maybe that ego too, big part of that ego of I don't need you and I'm going to show you.
I felt like it would always cheapen my story if I ever got help from anybody. So I always wanted to do it myself because it'll make a better story. It may
Mm-hmm.
take me longer. I may do things wrong, but it'll be a better story if I don't have help.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so moving forward to that, where uh decided, okay, I'm going to quit my job. When I gave my letter of you know leaving the company, they offered me 10% to stay, ownership of the company and stay. But I just knew it's just a temporary band-aid that I that's not what I want. And I also, of course, had this whole pitch in my head of like, what if I fail? Of course, what if it doesn't work out? I go, I'll give myself maybe 6 months or a year to try this out and see. Because I already do 6 months. I see some success. Now I'm going to give myself full time and see. And let's say if it doesn't work out, can I still go find a job? It may not be the same job. It may not be the same exact position or whatever it is, but can I find a job? Sure. Of course I can find a job. So that was not my concern. So I said, if that is the case, then why would I want to be complacent? Because if I don't try something different, I will never ever have a chance of having a different result.
Yeah. I mean, you felt like you were young enough and capable enough
Yeah.
to bounce back
Hmm.
if it
Yeah.
didn't work.
Yeah. And so I did. And the first year, meaning 6 months part-time, 6 months full-time doing this business, I cracked 100,000. I felt proud, right? And then the second year in business, I was able to make 200,000. And I'm thinking, wow, I spent 16 years. Of course, and now I'm older and more experienced. So I can't compare like, 16 years versus, but 16 years of working for somebody else to reach that 200,000 mark. And here I am in the second year working for myself, answering to me, working a lot though, don't get me wrong, not 40 hours for sure, right? But when you work for you, it's different. If you're in the right mindset. I remember the first day when I quit my job and I have this 24 hours a day, I wake up, I'm like, okay, what do I do? When you have a job, you clock in 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whatever the case is, but now what do I do? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. And then what? I'm like, oh my God, I have so much time. And I also realized is that my first 6 months full time, I was not efficient as I was with my part time. Because when I was doing part time, I know what I needed to do. When I full time, I have so much time, and I was trying to do the same thing, the same amount of work as I was doing part time without knowing what else. So not having a clear direction too, because I was new. So, but after the first year, I realized the pattern. I realized what I do wrong, etc. And then I adjust. And of course, in the second year, I was able to crack 200K and 300K in the fourth year, which is in 2020. Again, going back to the mass project and all that kind of stuff. In 2020, in the first 3 months, I did not even work because I was in this big, huge project during COVID. But yet in the last, 9 months of it left, I almost cracked $1 million in 1 year. And part of that, all that is the experience, the growing, the opportunity, and then working really hard in the right platform with the right people, all that stuff, and kind of like all ties in, and gave that result. Yeah. And what I'm most proud of was that I was able to retire my dad. And that's like the one thing that I guess I think that, like, I'm most proud in my entire life. I've always been doing well. Like, I'm not like rich, but well, comfortable in that kind of sense, right? But I remember one day I was having dinner at my dad's house and I looked at him and he was holding his chopstick and I saw paint on his hand and I was just staring at him, like staring at him. My whole family, like, all paused and go, what's wrong with you? Why are you staring at dad like that? So I don't know what happened. It just kind of like hit me. Look at my dad, his wrinkling hand and he was pained and he was holding his chopstick. And I was like, God, like, he's old and he's still working. So I paused, I go, Dad, how much do you need for you to retire? And then he told me a number. I go, okay, give me 2 years. And when my whole family learned about what I was doing, of course, 8 years ago, they thought I was crazy and they thought you have a good job and security. Everybody wanted security, thinking we're having a job is security. So they are like, no, don't do it. Don't quit job. So I lied to them. I never told them I quit my job. And just doing this business part-time until like 2 years later when I was able to I retired him not when I crack a 900 something. I retired when I was making 300,000 something because I was making more than what I was making
Right.
my job. And I said, I can retire my debt now, and so I told him, I go, I can do it. And that was like this proud moment, that I'm able to do. And I think a lot of people, sometimes we want things. People ask me, why do you work so hard? Honestly, I don't spend a lot of money on me. I may look like it. you may you may not agree, but honestly, the amount of money that I spend on my family is a lot more than anything on me. I don't really indulge a lot of because I know it's just things. I like nice things, but I'm not crazy or whatever. But the ability to be able to take my family on vacation or give them something or never say no or buy gift or, it gives me so much more pleasure to be able to do that. And that's what excites me, to be able to do more and to give more.
So all the way from a boat in the middle of the ocean, 4 days, 3 nights, to seven-figure
Mhm.
income in a pretty short period of time. Really, I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's awesome. So life insurance, would you? So let's talk about life insurance for a
Okay.
minute before we get into the nitty gritty of policies and how they can be used, and you teaching me
Mm-hmm.
the ins and outs of life insurance. I want to visit like the criticism of life insurance a little bit as a business. I think the product is a fantastic product. If you spend 10 minutes researching life insurance and how it can be used, it can be used almost in any way that fits any lifestyle. It can be affordable. It can be expensive. It can be an investment tool. It can be, something to protect your family. It can be a generational thing, blah, 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 right? But the business side of things, I think, has received a lot of criticism, even from me earlier in my career. I almost avoided it on purpose after I failed the test several times. But like that's when pyramid schemes were a big thing, and then I feel like they just switched the name of a pyramid scheme and called it multi-level marketing, and where things are more about recruiting than they are about the product. You recruit 2 people, and then they recruit 3 people, and then they recruit 5 people, and it's just more about recruiting than it is about the product. Um, I guess my question is it a good industry for somebody to get into? And if they do decide to get into life insurance, how should they go about doing that? Should they open up their own thing solo? Should they, get involved with somebody that already does it and be a part of their team and then try to build out their team? Yeah, I guess that's my question. Well, obviously, you would recommend it because you've done extremely well for yourself. But if you were to do it over again, how would you recommend somebody else getting into the industry?
I mean, there's several phases that you're asking me here, and it all depends on what do you desire, right? I'll give you an example. First of all, life insurance has been around for almost 200 years. It's a legit business.
Yeah.
So
it's a legit product.
It's a legit product itself, for sure, right? So there are 737 insurance carriers in America right now that are selling life insurance. It's well rated, regulated, and all that kind of stuff. So it's all good. It's not the insurance company or the product that is bad. It's the agent.
That's the distribution of it, right?
That is bad. So when people have negativity about the product itself, it's not the product. It's because it's just like you said earlier, you can do so many things with the product. And because you can do so many things, someone can look at the product or customize the product wrongly. Now, it could be the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience, or they just focus on their wealth or their profits and not the client. So it's not the product that's bad, it's the agent that's bad. I want to make sure that we establish that first.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think that's why it's important to educate yourself so you're able to provide guidance to that agent and know how they are incentivized.
Correct.
Right. So this is the other aspect of this podcast is I want to know the dark side of businesses, not even the dark side, just the inside info. And I think the biggest inside information piece is how do you get paid? And then I'll know if you're telling me something to increase your commission or something that really, improves the product that I'm buying. So answer that question.
That one first.
How do you get paid?
Okay. So
as an agent.
Okay, as an agent, how you get paid is called the target premium. Let's start out with that. So what is target premium? Depends on what kind of product you sell. Let's start out with, let's say, a term life insurance policy, which is the cheapest type of product there is. You buy a term policy, a term, meaning it will terminate at some point, right? 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, example. Within that year's frame, something had to happen for it to cash out. But after that year time frame ends, the policy ends. So the premium is the cost that the insurance charge per month or per year. So it's called annual target premium, meaning the entire year, how much this client is paying for this policy. That's called
For
target.
the death benefit.
For the death benefit. Let's say if I'm 30 years old, I'm buying a policy for $1 million. My cost, my premium, it could be $50 a month. And then if you take $50 times 12, that's $600 a year. That is the target premium of that year. As an agent who sells that policy, that is the number that you use, and you multiply it by your percentage of your commission. Depends on where you are at, how long you've been with the company, you have the contract with them.
So if you're a more successful producer, your commissions will be higher. And if you're a newbie, they'll be lower.
Yep.
So what does that range look like?
Most companies start at, let's say, 30% all the way to even 100%.
Okay, so the insurance company will give you as an agent 100% of the first year, right? So this is not an annual thing every year.
Right.
So that's different how it is with, say, P&C, property and casualty agents, because that's been my background. We get paid every year but also the policies are annual.
Correct.
Right. So we get paid every 10% of the premium every year.
Yeah. Now we also get a renewal, but a very small percentage. It could be 1%, 2%, 3%, depends on your contract again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's so insignificant afterwards. The key here is that the insurance company know that when you buy a policy, it's not just a 1 year thing. It's 10, 20, 30 years. That's why they're willing to even allow to pay that whole 100% of commission upfront. So it doesn't matter what percentage they are. The key is how does a person get paid is basically on that annual target premium, which is the total premium on that policy that the client is putting in. That's on a term policy. Very simple, straightforward. There's no tricky or anything like that. And there's no scam on a term policy. Just to be straightforward. Because kind of like car insurance. You look at your age and you said, I want to do whatever the case is, and this is the cost.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Just follows the formula.
Yeah, and that's it, right? Now, what it gets a little more dicier is when you get into like the permanent type of life insurance, the insurance where you do the investment or saving, you want to call it, right?
All the whole life,
universal life,
index,
variable, index universal life. Yep, all of those ones are basically the ability to accumulate cash value and all that kind of stuff. So it has other areas in there.
So just for people listening to this that are not familiar with that, that means that if you get $1 million death benefit, it costs you $500 a month. But there's a higher ceiling than that what you can pay. So you pay the $500 for the death benefit, but then you can pay another $1,000 every month into it as an investment account.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
So let me kind of break it down to the most simplest way to understand on the premium first. Okay. Let's say, again, 30 years old, female, want to buy $1 million policy. Now, when it comes to, I'll use universal life. It could be index universal life, variable universal life, or just fixed universal life. Any kind of universal life, which is the type of permanent life insurance. You have the ability to put more or less money into the policy. And then it also based on the interest that's earned depending on the type of policy you use. Okay. So for example, 30 years old, $1 million. Let's say the policy premium that the person customized saying it's $500 a month. And you just have to pay for a total of 20 years. After 20 years, you stop making payment, but the policy will last a lifetime. Typically, that's how most company or customized create. Okay. Now you can pay your whole life if you want to, and then you can lower that premium maybe to $400 and something, or you can go, I want to pay 10 years. Maybe you increase it to $600, $700. That's the whole idea. Just like a mortgage, right? The more you pay, the shorter the term.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the basic fundamental. So how exactly does that work? Let's break it down. Let's say today I'm 30 years old. The $1 million policy, I put in $500. The cost of insurance at the age of 30 is not $500. Maybe it's only $100. The other $400 is being saved, put into an account that earn interest.
Right.
Now, next year, you're going to be 31 years old. You still put in the $500, but now the cost insurance is going to be more than $100 than the year before. Maybe it's 110, just for explanation purposes. Okay, so now your investment is less. And then you do that. Let's say now when you're 50 years old, you still put in the $500. Maybe your cost of insurance now is $600. How is it the client is still have the ability to just put in $500 when it's $600? Well, the money, if you customize a plan correctly, you have a pot of money we call cash accumulated value that earn interest all these years that is sitting there waiting. So when the day that your cost insurance is more, it will pull from that to pay for the policy. In the same token, let's say after 20 years, you no longer have to pay. Well, not because you no longer have to pay, because the accumulation of wealth that's sitting here is so much. It has enough to pay for the policy itself without you actually paying it anymore. That is just how that works. Well, on permanent life insurance, whether it's whole life, universal, anything like that. Now, once you understand that, okay, go back a second. How does people scam? How does agents scam? Okay, let's say today, you come to me, that's the plan. I said to you, hey, you know what? It's going to be $500 a month, 20 years stop. And then there's another broker out there who said, you can come open a policy with me. All you have to do is pay $200 a month, and then you're good. Now, if a client knew nothing, a quote of 500 versus a quote 200, who are they going to go? 200. Could they still open the policy? Sure, because remember, like in the example I shared earlier, your monthly premium is only, the cost is only $100. You put 200, you put more than what is needed already. Yeah. So the policy is going to be okay. But the question is, how long will it be okay? Because remember, every year.
What does your 20 and 21 look like?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, when you're 50 years old, your cost insurance now is what? It is $600. You still put in $200. Well, the key is what? If that pot of money is not sitting, the cash accumulation value that you have is not sitting here enough for it to pool, we're going to run into the problem. You have two choices. One, terminate the contract, lose your policy. Or two, pay more now. So when people say life insurance is a scam, it's because they pick a policy that is customized incorrectly. Why? Well, because the agent just want to steal the sale. Because why? The first few years is when they get the commission. The first year, they got the commission already. After that, like, you're on your own now. Or they may be gone out of the business. So now the client is stuck with a policy that will last, basically. And they said life insurance is a scam. Okay, so one thing to prevent it, since we're always wanting to prevent it, is whenever a person run the illustration to quote someone, right? Make sure they show you the illustration. If they say you're paying 20 years, the illustration have to show you pay 20 years and see what happens. Don't just say you only pay 20 years, but the illustration show you pay for a lifetime. You have to see, you have to understand. The other thing a lot of time is a lot of this. People go, I trust you. It's okay, I trust you. And then they don't understand what they're buying. And because they don't understand what they're buying, they don't know how it worked and all that kind of stuff. And then one day when it wasn't what they expect or think, because most of us don't remember what we said 10 years ago. And life insurance is one of those things that you do have to review. Not just like you want to buy it and you just put it away. Every so often you want to review it, you want to make sure, make changes and stuff like that as well, right? So go back to how does a person scam, okay, quote unquote scam, when it comes to a whole life or a universal life commission and how they can do that, right? So let's say in my scenario, using the same example, I'm saying you have to do $500 a month with that $1 million policy, okay, for you to be able to have this policy the way we just customized. The target annual premium that you're paying is $6,000. However, the target for the policy that you get paid, it may be just $3,000. Because why? Because remember, you're overfunding your policy. You're overfunding your policy, so the true cost is a lot less. So as an agent, you're not going to take that $6,000 and you multiply it by your commission. The system will generate and say, okay, this true cost of this policy, is only 3,000. So how those people scam is that another agent come in and go, with $500,000, you can buy 2 million versus 1 million. Because when you have a higher death benefit, the cost of insurance, the true cost is higher. So they get paid based on the higher commission, the target premium, annual target premium. So the point is that two people can have the same monthly premium, but one policy is 2 million and the other person, one policy is 1 million. The policy is 1 million, get less commission versus the policy is 2 million. But what does it benefit the client in the long run?
Yeah, I feel like it depends what you want to do. If you want to use it if you're more interested in the investment piece, then choose the lower death benefit.
The key is, first of all, you want to make sure the policy doesn't lapse.
Right.
That's the first thing. That first thing. You want to make sure the policy doesn't lapse. And then now you think about what else do I want to do with the policy? Because the first thing about life insurance is protection. If I were to die, will my family get the money? That's the first thing. And then in our scenario, not just death, but if I get sick, if I have an illness, can I cash out? Right? So that's the protection part. Once we pass the protection part now, okay, what else can I do with this policy? Because you already have a life insurance policy. You have this amazing tool, utilizing the policy to exercise some of the other tools, things that you can take advantage of. And that's the second phase of what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I like about life insurance is the flexibility. And really, when I say that, I'm comparing it to a 401k. So, I mean, I think 401k is such a crock of shit, but a life insurance policy, take whatever you were putting in your 401k, just put it into life insurance every month, and you still have access to those funds, pretty damn close to 100% of, access to those funds without any penalties and stuff like that, right? I mean, you just take a loan from yourself and you have access to that emergency fund without the cash value dropping in your policy. Because that's the important thing, right? That you want that compounding in your investments.
Yeah, so what you're referring is that the interest you're gaining is still based on the money that the cash value as if it's never taken out.
Right.
Because, for example, if you have money in anywhere else, $100, and you take out $80, you're earning interest like in the bank. You're earning on the $20 that you have left on that commission or on that commission, the interest, right? Versus with life insurance, you're loaning against yourself. So even you take out $80 from that $100, you're continuing to earn interest on $100 as if you never take the money out.
Right. Well, because my understanding is you're not taking it out.
Yeah. You're loaning.
Well, the insurance company is loaning you their money, not your money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Because they know they can just get it from your
collateral.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Your money becomes collateral, never leaves the account. So if you have 500,000 in there and you take $100,000 loan, you're not taking 100,000 from you. You're taking 100,000 from the insurance company. Yeah. And so you still have 500,000 in there, gaining interest every month, rather than it depleting and only having 400,000.
Correct. Yeah. And I did exact that when I recently bought a home.
Yeah.
And the interest was like, the current interest at the time I bought my house this year was like 7-something%. And so I said, I took a few 100,000 from my life insurance. I don't have to ask for pre-qualification or anything like that. I just go to my app and I just request it, and then it just go direct deposit straight to my bank. There's no question asked. And the interest at the time when I got that was 4.5%, and I'm still gaining on the whole entire pot at a 8-something%.
Okay, so you're paying back 4% interest, but you're gaining 8% every month, so you're still net positive 4+ points.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it. I mean,
but you just have to know what you're doing first. The thing is that a lot of people don't know what they're doing, and they're doing it wrong and getting the wrong information, and that's why things basically go sour. But once you understand how it works and what it's supposed to do, that's one of the key components that how my success was to help a lot of parents with setting up their kids' policy. And how I get to the parent is get through the kids. As a parent, you do anything for your kid. Once you, because when I say, hey, let's open a policy for you, you don't think about it yet. I'm not ready, but I'm like, let me show you how you can utilize this policy as a college fund. And then I show them how they can open a policy for their kid, not because you want your kid to die, right? But because it's a vehicle that you can exercise. And the best part I love about life insurance that we do for kids is one, it can be used for any purpose at any time.
There's no restrictions.
There's no
Like a
restriction.
college,
Like a
so I have a
529
college fund for
plan.
my son that I started a long time ago. I can only spend it on college stuff. What if he doesn't go to college? What if he gets a Yeah. What if he gets a scholarship? What if, yeah. So there's no restrictions in life insurance, which I do like.
And then also, it doesn't count against you when your kid apply for financial aid or scholarships as well, because it doesn't show that, oh, you have money. Versus if you have a 529 plan, it counts against you because you have money as well. So, and then lastly, if the kid doesn't behave with life insurance, you can spend the money on you.
Yep.
You don't have to spend money on the child as well. So that's the flexibility is all there, right?
And this may be specific to however you set up your policy, but it doesn't go down in value. So that's like the big thing, the big knock on 401k versus life insurance is a 401k if the stock market goes down,
Yeah.
if it goes down 50%, like
Yeah.
in COVID, your 401k goes down 50%.
Yeah.
If in life insurance, if it goes down 50%, your cash balance or investment interest just goes zero.
Yes.
It doesn't go negative.
Yeah, you're
at
referring
all.
to index strategy. Yes. I want to make sure because there are different types. So,
So index universal life.
Index
I have
universal
several of those policies, and none of them ever
Correct.
go negative.
Yeah.
Reduce in value.
Yeah, if you understand that the concept of index strategy, index fund, right? So basically, what you have is called a cap and a floor, meaning that when you participate in the market gain, for example, using S&P 500, because we all know that. So when the market of S&P 500 goes up, we participate with that. We go up just like it. But there's a cap, meaning a maximum how much you can gain per year, used for easy purpose, let's say 10%.
That's the catch.
Yeah.
Right? If it goes up 30%,
you only get 10.
At 13, right?
Yeah.
Or 10.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. But then when the market goes down, you never ever lose anything. And here's the other concept. A lot of people go, well, the market goes up and it goes down, goes up. Yes. But what people don't realize is catching up
is double.
Is the most scariest part. Okay. I don't know you good with math or anything, but if the market is negative 30%, do you know how much the market has to go up for you to get a break-even point? 43%. If it's 40%, it has to be 67%. So if you look in the past, when the market goes down 10, 20, 30, 40, in the past, before, but going up to 60, 70%, not really. I love the story of Warren Buffett. He made a statement in, I think, 2006. He made a statement that, if you don't know, you're not savvy with invest or something like that, I just buy some index fund strategy, put the money in there, let it sit there for 10 years. He said, I believe me, it's going to grow better than you hiring hedge fund to manage your money and all that kind of stuff. Now, for someone in his caliber to make a statement like that, all those other hedge funds are very upset. So they made a bet, $1 million. Warren Buffett picked a few index fund strategy, bought it and just let it sit there, do absolutely nothing for 10 years. The other hedge fund companies, they took $1 million. They're doing whatever they need to do for 10 years. 2016 come along. The index funds that Warren Buffett chose outperform. So he won $1 million and donated $1 million to a nonprofit organization. So the point is, of course, anybody can say they can do well one time, 1 year, 1 month. But can you do it consistently for 20 years or 30 years or something like that? And especially most of us are not
full-time investors.
We're not savvy in that, right? And most of us, last I even know, when I was working my old company for 16 years, I have a 401k. I just elect a certain percentage. I don't even move anything. Most of us don't. Many people, when I sit down with people, I go, can I see your 401k? Do you know how much gain you have? No, they have no idea whatsoever until they quit or until they retire or when 2008, when the market crashed and I go, oh my God, my money is lost like 50% or whatever the case is, right? So most of us are not investor savvy. So that's why index fund is such a revolutionized concept that basically put everybody. Now, I'm not saying that you don't invest, diversify some of it so that in case something happens, at least you have this. And then if you have that concept, you incorporate that into a life insurance policy. The best part is it's tax free. That's what the whole idea is all about. When it comes to life insurance, you're exempt from paying tax. So we just have to understand what is our goal, what is our need, what's our long-term, short-term, and how to utilize the policy. It becomes magical.
Yeah, I would recommend anybody to look into life insurance as a vehicle. So, I mean, obviously, get one to protect your family in case you pass away or whatever, something unexpected happens. But it's such, much more advanced tool. Find somebody that you can trust, find somebody that will take the time to sit down with you and draw it out, and more so even keep it simple. And if you can properly communicate what you want to do with your life insurance project, then the agent should be able to manipulate or manufacture the policies to fit your your goals of what you want to accomplish. So
the thing is, life insurance today is a lot affordable and customizable in the way you want. When you're 30, 40, 50, like you change, the same policy can be so versatile to change as well. But the one thing that I want to emphasize, even why I love what I do, like I'm passionate about what I do, is the piece of the puzzle of the living benefits. I'll give you one example. Recently, I have a client of mine. She was 28 years old when she bought a policy from me, $1 million policy in 2020. And 2024 in April, they called me. She found out she had cancer, stage 4. Now, many people, any agent, if you're an agent and I call you and I tell you that I have cancer or some type of illness, the typical is like, I'm so sorry, Stephanie. I'll pray for you. Great. But besides that, what is that going to do? My family is going to suffer. When a person is sick, the ability to go to work could be very low to none at all. If the illness don't kill you, the stress is going to kill you financially. And it's not just one person has been affected. The whole entire family is affected. 60% of foreclosure happened in America because someone in the family was sick. And I mean, we look at the stats, every 40 seconds, someone has stroke. We have every 1 out of 3 female will have cancer. Every 1 out of 4 male have cancer. I mean,
one reason for bankruptcy.
Yeah. So all these things, we cannot say, it's not going to happen to me. I was healthy and everything. And next thing is I was on the floor in the ER. Thank God it was something not severe where, I'm disabled for life or something like that, right? No one planned to fail. No one planned for that. But when it happened, and I said, about 2% of the population have an unexpected death. 98 will experience life, go through all this thing and still live. And the last thing you want to do when someone in the family experiences an illness is worry about money. Yes, you may have a house. You want to sell it? Yes, you have 401k. Do you want to cash it out? And then once you recover, now you have to start from scratch again. All of those things can happen. But if you have a policy that has the living benefit component to it, and many companies are completely free, meaning that this is added to the policy without any additional cost. So that in the event that you experience an illness, you can choose to cash out your death benefit or not.
Yeah, without penalty.
Without penalty, whatever, So that is the key, that people have to understand that you're not buying it just to protect your family, you're buying to protect you.
Okay, so that's like the individual policies. Mm-hmm. What about companies or entrepreneur or, business owners? There are a few ways that you can utilize life insurance in a business too.
Absolutely. I key man employee business. So a few things. For example, I have worked with business owner that they need a business plan for their company. It could be a buyout. It could be a key employee. Many different purposes, right? But the key is what? In the event, this particular person, whether they leave the company because the key is selling the company or whatever the case is, you want security, right? So if you have a key man, a key employee who is a CEO, CFO, whatever the case in the company, their role is so significant to the success of the company. If this person pass away or have an accident, that's why I want to emphasis on the living benefits. Is because all these you think of death, right? But what if they don't die, but they have an accident and they couldn't work anymore? Then they're incapable of working will cause losses to the company. So in this scenario, the company can cash out the life insurance. So we do that. We want to protect the business. So the business can have all these key employees plans to ensure that the company is protected in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, you have buy-sell agreements through and key man or key person. I don't know what the proper vernacular is now, but key man insurance. And then you have companies that utilize life insurance as a vehicle or even incentives, right?
Yeah.
So it in the most simplest way I can explain it is that the way I have things set up is like the Rockefellers, right? So you have a family trust, you have all of these life insurance policies on all of these people, and all of them are going to die one day. When they do, all the death benefits go back into one central account, right? And which is like a family bank. And like funds kind of do the same thing. Investment funds. It's called FOLI, fund-owned life insurance. And this is what I heard. I don't know if this is true, but that companies will give people the title vice president when they're a salesperson. But they give them one of the reasons that they would give a title vice president is because now that qualifies them to be a key person within the organization. So I don't know how true that is, but I tend to think it is true because like, hey, I've worked with that person and, you know, hey, I know it says VP of blah, 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 but that just means they're a salesperson. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, you do that also, again, a few things. It could be a family member. You want to do that for your family. It could be your son. You can add them in there just so you know, because the title is a title, right? But then at the same time, the true use of it also is incentivize for the employee so that they even stay with you instead of turnover too. For example, they can go, okay, you stay with me, and they can do a contract for 10 years or something like that. And they can open a policy for you, not just a term, but even an index universal life. And then when you retire or you leave, whatever your contract is, we can transfer this under your own name. So now, not just a 401k, not just a medical benefit, but now you have this retirement plan protection that you can benefit from. So there's many different use. Another one, for example, if someone is doing a loan businesses, you open a franchise or something like that, and they need you to have a term policy to ensure, to protect the business when they loan. So they do that. So most key man or key person employee, it's a term policy, because the idea is that this person is going to work for the company for 10 or 15 years and it's cheap. And then within that period of time, if something happens, we want to make sure we collect $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. That's basically the whole idea, right?
Yeah, I think that's the main reason is the affordability of it. We're not using this as a vehicle. We're just using it as a safety net.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, the incentives are interesting because that's what we do for our clients. So, and I don't want people to get confused with group life. That's different. That's like part of your medical benefits package where, you get $20,000 or $50,000 and the company, buys it for you or, it's super cheap. That's not what we do, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, hold on. On the incentives, what we do is we'll go to, say, an attorney firm and we'll say, who are your partners? Not the equity partners, but, the title partners. Who are your key people that you just can't afford to lose? But, they're not quite named partners or equity partners. And what you can do is get a life insurance policy for them, say $500,000 or $1 million, and that costs $500.
A lot less.
Okay, so you overfund it. you put 2,000 a
Mm-hmm.
month in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it builds this huge cash value.
Mm-hmm.
And if they stay with you for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when it fully vests.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of you or the company being the beneficiary
Mm-hmm.
and owner,
Mm-hmm.
you sign over ownership
Yep.
to them,
Yep.
and they
Mm-hmm.
can make the beneficiary who they want, their
Exactly.
family or whatever. And so they never had to do anything. All they had to do was stick
Mm-hmm.
around for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And also you were protected
Yep.
throughout this
Mm-hmm.
whole
Yep.
phase,
Mm-hmm.
needed them to stay. And I'm hedging,
Yep.
if something were to happen,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate were to happen, then you're made whole
Yeah.
again with
Absolutely.
life insurance policy.
Absolutely. That's exactly what people do. I have my client that do that. And turnover is the worst thing. People leave just to get a 10% raise or whatever the case is, right? But now you don't have to worry about that because training new people is hard. So absolutely.
Well, and if they say they leave
And
before the 10 years
yeah,
goes, now this company has this life
yeah,
insurance policy, cash value,
yeah,
you have access
yeah.
to it, and
Mm-hmm.
just change the beneficiary to
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, or utilize it as a
Mm-hmm.
small little piggy bank or
Yep.
loan,
Yep.
or just a bank that you
Mm-hmm.
can take small loans from.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so if somebody is interested in getting life insurance or
Mm-hmm.
even selling life insurance,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, she looks like she's doing well.
Uh-huh.
I'd like some of that. How do I get involved? How do people get a hold of you? How do they track you
Mm-hmm.
down?
Okay. Well, there's a few ways. First, easiest way is you send me an email to info@keylifeins, INS, stand for insurance.com. That's the direct to me. You can go to LinkedIn, look me up. It's Steph, STEPH dot, my last name, HOANG, two. You should that. Same thing with Instagram, and same thing with Facebook. Stephanie Hoang, the whole thing. I should be like the first, second person to pop up, and just send me a message,
We'll put all
right?
those links in the
Yeah, yeah,
description
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah. Yep.
of the video.
Yeah. And first of all, a few things I want to share here is one is you have a life insurance policy. I can help you review completely free. Just know what your policy is. First thing, a lot of people is they have the policy for too long. The beneficiary may be an old ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-wife. You want to make sure you update that. And maybe your kids or something like that, you need to update name, etc. too. And then understand, is that policy value efficient? Because maybe you got it when you're young. Now you have more debt. You have more liability. You want to make sure you protect yourself. Your life worth is now no longer 100,000. Maybe it's 1,000,000,
Mhm.
right? And you can do supplement, whatever the cases as well. So we want to review it. And the last thing about your policy is that most of people out there who have a policy is a debt policy, meaning that you have to die in
Right.
order for us to cash out. What if I can help you upgrade? But the key here is upgrade the policy without the cost
Right.
being different.
Yeah, that was going to be my thing.
Yes.
And you can transfer those
Yes,
funds,
yes, you
1031
can.
exchange, or
Yes, 1035 yeah. So any permanent life insurance policy, we can do that, right? And then so I can show you and see if I could. If we couldn't, at least you know what you have. But now, if or maybe you could, maybe I want more, and we can all supplement. But if I could, I show we could. We can change, meaning that upgrade your policy with the same monthly payment, but now you have added benefits to your policy. It's a no-brainer. You have to do that, right? So that is basically what you. On the other hand, we do other stuff besides life insurance, but that's another day. Okay. But if you're like, okay, this product seems amazing. This is something that not just people want, but need. And I want to help me. I want to help my friends, my family, my community, and also maybe do this part-time on the side or full-time. Maybe I can be crazy like Stephanie and do what I did, right? The key is give yourself a chance to learn, explore. Then again, contact me. I'm going to sit down and show you the potential of doing this business part-time versus full-time, or even a referring agent kind of deal. And you can also make money. And what I absolutely love about this business is that you can do it half dress or full dress. I mean, you can do this business on Zoom in 50 states. So you'll be able to do this business virtually anywhere, not just at home. So the ability to do this business and in many capacity that you can do as well.
which is new since COVID, right? So, I mean,
Yes.
it's a great time to get into it
It's
because it has definitely become more convenient and easier to succeed.
well, as I mentioned to you, my income spiked from 300,000 to almost a million in 2020
Yeah.
because people now are much smarter, in my opinion, because of the resources that we have, right? And we understand that it's not just death that we worry, it's illness that we worry as well. And last, I want to emphasis on one last thing that you mentioned earlier is about like most people have work insurance. Now, first of all, the life insurance you have at work, maybe 50,000, maybe more, maybe less, more likely about less than 50,000. But it's only a debt policy. It's only when you still work
Yeah,
with
as
that
long as you work
company.
there. Yeah.
So first of all, you have to die within the time you work at that company. Okay.
Yeah.
So what if you have an accident? Nope, you can't cash out. But when you leave, and a lot of people that I work with now, I see a clientele is like they did not have their own life insurance policy that they buy on their own. They're depending on their work. And then one day they're 50, 60, and they are leaving that job or they're
No
retiring.
cash value.
No cash value, no longer have protection. And now if you want to buy a policy, a few things. You're a lot older now. The cost insurance is very high,
Yeah.
or you don't even qualify for it because you may have existing illnesses now.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah, that'd
can't
be
even have
tough.
life insurance policy. And I tell people this. Think of it as like buying a car. When you first buy a car, I don't care what car you buy, brand new. Typically, the first 4 years, nothing ever happened. That's the 4 years warranty.
Yeah.
Car's driving great. After the warranty, the brakes have issue, the timing belt. I don't know about cars, but there's all kinds of issues, right? Human beings are the same thing. Before you retire, most likely you're still okay. After you retire, you're going to
Things
need the
start to fall
policy
apart.
all apart. When you need it most. So you need to learn to get a policy when you're still young.
Yeah.
I have clients, the moment their kids are born, they have a policy.
That's what I did with my kids.
Yeah. So it's not even like later on, but
And I wish somebody did that for me.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Any advice to high schoolers or people
Yeah.
just getting out of college,
Yeah.
get a life insurance policy, speak to an agent,
Yep.
get a permanent
Mhm.
index universal life or whatever, right? You do your own research, but absolutely look into this and consider getting a life insurance policy because it's so cheap and it's so flexible and there's so many benefits down the road. You're going to say, man, I wish I did this when I was 18.
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people feel like it's not urgent or it's not, it's one of those things that by the time it's urgent, it's too late.
Yeah.
And it's your responsibility to look into it. It's your responsibility to take care of yourself. It's your responsibility to take care of your family. I look at life insurance like if the moment you said, I love you to anybody, your kid, your wife, your whoever the case is, do you really love them? Because if you do you plan to ensure if something were to happen, are they protected?
So if you tell anybody you love them, buy a life insurance immediately,
Absolutely.
same day. It just goes hand in hand.
Really love. It's like, are you really love someone? Just saying it, in a joking way. I tell my friends, just to the ladies, I go, if a guy, okay, said he love you, okay, have him open a life insurance policy. But here's the key, ladies, to be very smart. On side note, okay? Don't just have him list you as a beneficiary because he can change anytime. Okay?
Yeah.
Have him add you as an owner. Then now you know he really love you. That's true love test right there. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess there's several ways you can look at life insurance. But yeah, I do think that whether you are a business owner or whether you're an employee or whether you are single or whether you are married or whether you're a parent or whether you're not, life insurance is like it fits everything. I don't know. I hate to push something so hard, because it's
a guarantee. It's
a
guarantee because imagine, I don't care whatever happened. You buy a life insurance policy, you're paying a small fraction and you're going to guarantee you're going to get a big lump sum because we all will die, period. So no matter what spectrum that, you die, the family or you is going to benefit. It's a guarantee. It's almost like a lottery ticket. Okay.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just feel, the way people look at life insurance is maybe a little antiquated to where, like you said, when somebody says life insurance, I have to die for something to happen.
Exactly.
Right. And I know the living benefits, you're really big on those, especially because your experience. And that is really important. for me, I guess I'm more strategic
Mm-hmm.
in the way I think in business, and it can be a useful tool with the insurance aspect of
Mm-hmm.
it. You're insured to be
Mm-hmm.
made whole if
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, it's not just playing defense.
Yeah.
You can also play offense
Mm-hmm.
with this tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what was most attractive to me is that
Absolutely.
it's not just it's not just a savings account
Correct.
where I'm just putting money aside
Correct.
and I wish I had that money because I
Mm-hmm.
could be
Yeah.
doing something with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yeah.
that.
Correct.
If you wish you had that money, okay,
Mm-hmm.
take it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what I like about it.
Oh,
I like the
absolutely. Yeah.
flexibility of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep.
If you're having a tough time,
Mm-hmm.
there's a such thing as flexible premium.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't make premium
Mm-hmm.
payments this month, okay,
Mm-hmm.
cancel it till next month.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't make payments for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Well, we'll utilize the cash value to
Mm-hmm.
supplement your
Mm-hmm.
hard times. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do that with any other,
Mm-hmm.
like a term policy or something
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's not flexibility.
Correct.
And so I just really like the
Yeah.
flexibility of it all. You can always make adjustments. Say you want to
Mm-hmm.
increase your
Yep.
death benefit. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's have a conversation about
Mm-hmm.
increasing it and
Yep.
see what that looks like.
Yep.
Or if you want to reduce it,
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't think of any reason to not consider life insurance
Mm-hmm.
policy. The only thing that has ever rubbed me the wrong way is if an agent tries to push, a ton of riders that increase the target premium.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you are a consumer of life insurance,
Yeah.
ask the agent how they are getting paid
Mm-hmm.
and grill them on it, and
Mm-hmm.
then try to read them, make sure they're
Yeah.
not lying,
Mm-hmm.
and that they should be completely
Mm-hmm.
transparent. They are somewhat of a fiduciary
Mm-hmm.
that they need to be making the decisions based off of what is in your best interest, and their license rides on that.
Yes.
That they do it.
Absolutely.
And so I would, talk to a couple agents,
Yeah.
and you can see the difference. Call Stephanie or whatever, but
Yes.
but I am a huge advocate for life insurance in the most, genuine, honest way
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yep.
Like it is so common sense to
Yeah.
me once you do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do your homework,
Mm-hmm.
then you're right. It's not urgent or, pushy salespeople
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, right? It just has a
Yep.
negative
Mm-hmm.
connotation to it. But if you do 10 minutes of research on life
Mm-hmm.
insurance,
Yep.
then you can, it's clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Jim Harbaugh,
Mm-hmm.
football coach for the
Mm-hmm.
University of Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
I may get the story wrong a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, but when he took the job at Michigan, they offered him whatever X amount, $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, I don't want $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want you to put $30 million into a life insurance policy for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
And so, and I thought that was, make the payments for me, $30
Disney,
million
I
worth.
Walt Disney.
Yeah, same thing, right? So
Yeah. How we have Disneyland today, even because
life
he
insurance.
life insurance, right? There's a lot of actually the people who buy life insurance are the people who are very well off because they understand how money works.
Exactly.
They leverage. See, you work hard for your money. Now make your money work hard for you. And knowing the sources and knowing the ability what life insurance could do can be a game changer.
Yeah, and even if somebody is not maybe as successful as others, or even that far along in their career, maybe they are hesitant in looking into this because, well, that's just too advanced for me. It's really not.
No.
This is the first thing that you should do.
Yeah.
Before you look into getting some sort of financial advisor
Yep.
or something
Yep.
like that, right? If you're
Yep.
below that level
Yep.
where you don't have a financial advisor, look into life insurance. If you do have a financial advisor, mention life insurance and have him call Stephanie.
Yep.
If you're a business owner and blah blah blah, look into life insurance to protect you, your business, your family, your key employees. So like it's every level, and don't be intimidated by life insurance. It is simple when you boil it down, and if you get a good agent, then it's very easy to understand. And it's, I think, the most effective tool for the basics. The CPA may be able to work wonders here and there, but life insurance is one of the core muscles you need as as somebody looking further than today.
Yep.
If you try to have any sort of vision into what life is going to be like for your kids or your grandkids or whatever down the line, life insurance is the place to start. So
and you'd be surprised if you have like a grandkids, like you mentioned. Okay, $50 a month, $20 a month, to $500 to 1,000, depends on it. All budget, because most of us, when your kid gets go to 18 or 20, go to college, the one thing you need is what?
Money.
For a car.
Yeah.
At the very least, is a car. We don't even think about, we don't even dream about, okay, paying for college. Okay, a car for them to transfer themselves. And that's what, 10, 20, 30,000. I don't know, where are you going to come up with that money right away?
Yeah.
So just start saving, accumulating. That's what I do with people. I go, their birthday money, Christmas money, whatever the case is that you have, save it and then throw it in there, let it grow. And then by the time they're 18, 19, whatever the case is, take that money out, do what they need to do. So
Yeah.
you'll be so surprised how simple, like just that people just procrastinate.
Yeah. Well, that's how I use mine. I mean, that's, when my daughter or son wants to buy their first home,
Mhm.
or if they want to start a business,
Yeah.
or if they,
Yeah. Get married.
get married,
Yeah.
pay for a
Hmm.
wedding,
Yeah.
that's where those chunks of
Hmm.
change come
Yep.
from,
Yep.
is the life insurance policies.
Yep.
It's
Hmm.
and also it's a convenience that I also don't have to set additional money aside.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
To where
Hmm.
I think 99.9% of people, like, all
Hmm.
right, my daughter's going to get married
Hmm.
a year from now. They set the date. Now I have to save up for a year.
Hmm.
I don't
Yep.
have to do that
Yeah.
because I have these life
Yep.
insurance policies that I can tap into
Yep.
to pay for it.
Yep.
So it's less burdensome on, rushing to save money.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Stephanie Hoang, Key Life Insurance,
Hmm.
keylifeins.com, and or info@keylifeins.com. All right.
All
Thanks.
right. Thank you all. All right.
3 hours.
I know. We can talk for sure.